I've been shaky since this morning, because I had a dream last night. There was you on a double-decker bus, jumping over motorbikes. Look out, hold on, I'm coming. Hold on, and I'll be there. Hold on, I'll come running. Hold on, my dear. Overhead, the lights are shining. They're lighting up your name. I really thought you were going up in the world. Are you just coming down in flames? Oh, hold on, I'm coming. Hold on, and I'll be there. Hold on, I'll come running. Hold on, my dear.
Welcome to Stunt Challenge 85, in which 6 highly skilled stunt artists will literally be putting their lives on the line in a thrilling chase for a first prize of £2,000. And among the contestants, the man here at the wheel, master stuntman Greg Powell, who won this competition 12 months ago with this spectacular lorry roll. Well, Greg, that was 12 months ago. What you got lined up this year?
It's going to be even bigger and better this year, dear boy.
Well, what are you going to do?
We're going to banter right off a few of these motors. I'll show you. We're just going to do one in a minute.
Hey, hang on. I don't fancy this one bit.
Don't worry about it. It's okay.
Hey, slow down, Greg.
No,
this is
well,
getting
if you don't like it, get out. Go on, go now. Don't sit there. Go. I've got to do it.
Well, the stunt artist business is all about taking the falls while the others take the credit. And the man who was doubling for me there was Graham Crowther, one of Britain's top stuntmen. Thanks, matey. We'll be seeing Graham and Greg in much more dramatic action later on. In Stunt Challenge 85, the competition in which the winner will be decided by the stunt artists themselves. The entire competition this year will be staged here in picturesque Blackwater in the heart of Hampshire. And for the winner, as well as the £2,000, there's this impressive Triton Showers Trophy. Now, we'll concentrate on each individual stunt as it's performed, and at the end of the program, we'll link them all together in a 6-stunt sequence. It'll show how stunt artists combine to make stunt sequences for films, as in this clip from the latest James Bond movie, A View to a Kill.
Catch him! No, she won't. Follow the parachute. He's eating this, out.
Well, before we go into our stunt sequence, I have to relate some sad news because Rocky Taylor, who won the competition in 1982 and was supposed to be a contestant this year, sadly has not made it to the starting line because in his final week of preparation for Stunt Challenge 85, he was performing a stunt in Death Wish 3 that went horribly wrong.
Come out, John.
But it wasn't jolly good for Rocky, I'm afraid. A sudden gust of wind sent the flames spreading quicker than planned, and he was forced to jump from a point that meant he was unable to reach his specially constructed landing area. He hit the ground and shattered his pelvis. Rocky, one of the stunt world's most popular characters, was taken here to St. Thomas's Hospital in Lambeth, from where he had this message for his colleagues in this year's Stunt Challenge competition.
I just wish you a very, very good show, and hope you all come out of it very well. Good luck. Don't break a leg.
Rocky typifies the courage, the dedication of stunt artists, and he is waiting as eagerly as the rest of us for the outcome of Stunt Challenge 85.
And here we are at the start of part one of our sequence. Nick Wilkinson is the stuntman on the jet ski on the right, and we've cast him in the role of an escaping spy pursued by enemy agents. Let's see if he can make good his escape.
That was quite something. Oh, Lord.
What's the feeling like coming up towards that ramp out there?
That's the good bit. That's the good bit. It's once when you hit that little kicker at the end, that did flip it right up into the air.
You really got it?
Yeah, it's great. Lovely feeling.
Yes.
Are you going to have a go now?
Go on, then.
Yes.
The hell I will. Well done, superstar.
Fine, thanks very much.
Nick, looking back to your earlier life, I believe you came from a military family.
Yes, indeed. My uncle was colonel in the Indian Army. My father was a major in the Royal Engineers here. I spent a little time in the Royal Engineers, and my brother, who was the black sheep of the family, I suppose, he had about 2 days.
So, I mean, with that sort of background, how do you become a stuntman in films?
Well, stunting was something I always wanted to do, and I thought that if I went into the army and did some training, you know, judo, karate, the abseiling and bits and pieces, I'd come out with a fairly decent grounding. And I took it from there, really.
And you were telling me earlier on that you actually worked at Buckingham Palace. What was that?
Well, that was in conjunction with a riding school that I used to work at in Hyde Park, and we used to give lessons in Buckingham Palace. We used to have some of the foreign dignitaries over and their children, and I used to teach them riding, yeah.
Well, you specialise in horse riding stunts, but as we see in this sketch from Not the 9 o'clock News, you're also a fall guy away from the saddle. I mean, getting knocked down by cars can't be all fun, can it?
No, we did that 3 or 4 times, different camera angles, and unfortunately on about the fifth take, I went right over the top of the car and chipped my shoulder, and I was out of action for a little while.
So what motivates you? I mean, it can't just be the cash. What is it?
It's a very difficult question to answer. It's something that, as I say, I've always wanted to do, and I enjoy it. It's a great life. And where else can you go around and be a cowboy one day and a policeman the next, and, as you say, get paid for it?
Well done. Very good start to our opening sequence by Nick, and let's have another look at his jet-propelled escape and see how it leads into our next stunt.
Well, film stunts often involve more than one stand-in, and so for the second part of our sequence, we have a new stunt artist taking the place of Nick Wilkinson as our spy on the run.
All right, come on up.
Thanks.
Okay.
Yes, thank you.
Well, take us back. What was it like on top of that lorry? It looked terrible from where I was.
It was okay. It wasn't too bad. Once I'd actually decided to go for the jump, then it was okay.
But seeing you coming along, you were bouncing up and down.
Yes, it was quite bouncy. On top of the articulator, it was a bit scary.
Did you have any doubts about when to jump and...
No, once I decided I was going to go for it, I just did it, and it was okay.
And you gave that car roof a hell of a wallop.
Yes, yeah, I just sort of bent my legs when I landed, so it was all right.
And no problems with the catapult off?
No, it was okay.
Well done. Well, get your breath back. We'll have another chat about your career as a stuntwoman in a few minutes.
Helen Caldwell, a former school PE teacher, is one of just a dozen women working on the British Stunt Register. And it's this sort of bold action that is giving her a growing reputation in the stunt world.
Now, if we've got any women watching who've got a secret ambition to become a stuntwoman, I mean, how long does it take?
Well, you can't become a stuntwoman overnight. It does take years of sort of dedication and training to get onto the stunt register. It is a very difficult profession to get into, but I mean, it's like if you want to get into the Olympics, you have to train, you have to go and work at it. Having said that, if a woman wanted to get on the stunt register, you know, there's no reason why she shouldn't. She'd just have to work very hard to get there.
And you've got to keep fit, presumably?
Yes, you have to keep very fit, and you also have to have been a professional sort of performer for some years and attain quite a high standard in several sort of skills that are required for stunt work.
Listen, how do the men react to you? Because, I mean, the stunt world was basically all men until just a few years ago. How do you get on with it?
All the stunt arrangers that I have worked for have been very helpful, so it's been all right.
And you think in the years ahead that you're going to be an equal amount of women and men in stunt world?
No, I don't think there will ever be that situation, because obviously there'll always be more work for men. But it'd be nice to see a woman arranger in the future.
Well, here's an example of your work in
Yes.
Cat's Eyes, in which you were doubling for the lovely Leslie Ash.
Yes.
Well, that certainly proves you've got a head for heights.
Yes, quite a few of my jobs have been involved height work, so yes.
So no problems there. But do any stunts frighten you?
You always get that sort of nervous anticipation, which is a good thing, because if you haven't got it, you could, you know, you could muck the job up. But then on the other hand, you've got to be in control of what you're doing.
Mm-hmm. I understand you're quite good at judo.
Well, I'm first cue. I'd like to get my black belt someday.
Really?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Well, thanks, Helen. Well done.
Thanks. Thank
And
you,
I
Dad.
think with stunts like this, you're going to go an awful long way in this business. So now we have the first two stunts in our link sequence. Join us after the break for more thrilling chases in the Stunt Challenge 85 Trophy. Welcome back to Stunt Challenge 85. We're about to go into the third stunt in our sequence of 6, and now it's the chasing cars that are going to have a smashing time.
The leading car is being driven by Dorothy Ford, who's bidding to become the first British stuntwoman to perform a pipe roll, which, as you'll see, is a highly specialised and dangerous way of overturning a vehicle.
Come on, push.
Sorry. Well done.
Here she comes. You made it. Well done. Well done. Well done. What was it like?
Well, it was all right. I don't think of it until the last minute, and then you don't think about it, you know.
Well, you bounced all the way along there. Oh, we were
I
worried.
think the first bang on your head is the first thing.
How many bangs did you get?
I think the second one is when they turn you over.
Shit. Well, you made it. You've made history.
Yes.
Well, you've done
This
it.
is unfair, taking me like this.
All the press are here.
You rotten devil.
Well, first British woman to done it. What does it feel like?
Well, great. Great.
You've given them a lead.
I know.
Would you do it again?
Step in the right... Yes, I would. Yes, I would. I'd probably put a bit more padding on top of my head, but I think I'd do it again.
You've written off the motor.
Oh, hell. How am I going to get home tonight?
This is no normal Jaguar saloon. It's been specially reinforced by master mechanic Dave Bickers, the man working as engineer on this year's Stunt Challenge competition. Dave, once one of the world's greatest cyclocross champions, combines here with stunt arranger Greg Powell as they fit Dorothy into the sort of safety harness a fighter pilot would wear.
That's it. How's that feel?
Yep.
All right, nice and tight. Move your feet.
Yep.
Hold you down.
Push your head up.
Okay.
Hold you down. Can you
Yeah.
can't get up in the air?
Bit of a
And
weight.
even though she's dressed for danger, Dorothy remains as pretty as a picture. Fasten your safety belt as we get a passenger's eye view of just what it was like for Dorothy inside the car as she performed her spectacular role.
You've now proved that men don't have to wear wigs to do pipe rolls.
Yeah, I have. So I'm pleased about that.
Uh-huh. Is that one up for the ladies, or?
Well, yes, because we've never had a chance to do it before in England anyway. I don't know if they do it abroad anywhere else, but never done in England.
I mean, people are saying that's the best pipe roll they've ever seen, by man or woman.
I'm pleased. What can I say?
66 feet you jumped through the air.
God. Oh.
Not bad.
No, not bad.
And take us back, because I believe you're more used to a different kind of horsepower.
Oh, yes. I came into business through horses, so I'm used to horse falls and things like that, you know.
And how long have you been in the stunt business?
About 18 years. Yeah. Never done one of those before. So.
Relieved. Is that an ambition come true?
I suppose so. Yes, I suppose so. I've never hankered, said I've got to do it all the time. You know, it just it happened, and then I said, yes, I'd like to do it.
With all this experience, 18 years in the business, I mean, you must have doubled for some of the biggest stars in the business, haven't
Yes,
you?
I have. I've done the last 5 James Bond pictures, so doubled for all the leading ladies in there. And You name most of the stars, big stars, any stars, I've doubled.
Such as?
So, Lois Childs, I've done all that. Linda Evans in Dynasty, Joan Collins. You can, anyone, Barbara Bouquet, Barbara Beck. It's very hard to think of Diane Cannon, to think of all the names straight off.
And Brooke Shields, I think.
And Brooke Shields, yes.
Right.
Yes, I did Brooke Shields
Tell us what happened when you stand in for her.
Oh, I had an accident.
Uh-huh.
I did a lot of car driving for her, and I had to fall through a roof, and I cracked a few vertebrae on that one. But that's the only serious accident I've ever had, touch wood, so far.
Well, if you can stand it, Dorothy, we're going to show that clip now. And I should tell you that Brooke Shields in this scene is pretending to be a man. So what you're about to see is a stunt in which Dorothy here is disguised as Brooke Shields, who's disguised as a man. Okay? Tell me, is it possible to be insured as a stunt artist?
Yes, we have to be insured before we can work. We're all insured on a sort of a block insurance. So you have to be insured. But it doesn't pay to get hurt because you get very little money when you're insured, so it's better to keep working.
Listen, you've got an 18-year-old daughter, Kim. I mean, would you encourage her to follow Mum?
No, she's not interested at all. Not interested, not at all, Daredevil. No, she's not interested in following. I would encourage her if she wanted to do it, yes, but no, she's not interested in doing it.
And you're not worried about perhaps breaking your neck and not being able to go home and be with her?
Well, if you think about that, then you'd never be doing stunts, would you? You know, if you start thinking, I'm going to hurt myself on this, then you'd never ever do anything, so you just don't really think about it. You know.
Well done today, Dorothy Ford. Let's have another look at the stunt in which she proved that women can do just as well as the men, if not better. And now, after that breathtaking car roll by Dorothy Ford, it's back to the chase for stunt number 4 in our sequence. And this is to be performed by the man who doubled for me at the beginning of the program, Graham Crowther. Let's see what happens to him as he swerves to avoid Dorothy's wrecked car.
Got it a bit early or a bit late?
Oh, no. Straight.
All right?
Oh, you lost a few pounds in sweat, I think.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, fine.
Hey?
Yeah.
Well, everything seemed to go according to plan.
Where's that?
Yeah, smash this one up, doughboy.
You did, well and truly. What speed were you doing when you hit it?
I think I just decelerated a bit. I think I was doing 40, actually.
Uh-huh. You did a few somersaults anyway.
Yeah, did it?
Yeah.
I'd like to see the video.
You will, don't worry. What's it like as it's turning over there mid-air?
Rough. It gives you really a whack round the head, you know?
Yeah.
With that pressure.
Yeah.
It gives you a whack.
And what was it like in the seconds leading up to it when you knew you had to go?
I can't explain it. You just do it.
You just do it.
Yeah.
And although you got the butterflies, just...
You just switch on autopilot
Uh-huh.
and just push the button. I think I pushed the button a bit late or early. You know, you... All right, was it?
It was all right.
Happened so quick, you can't...
And what's the feeling like when we're sitting here and it's over?
Wonderful. I hope I go and have a nice pint of lager, I think.
You've earned it. Well done.
And while Graham is having his well-deserved drink, let's get a different angle on the stunt that gave a whole new meaning to going for a spin. Well, I must tell you that Graham here did that stunt at short notice, and it was his very first cannon roll. Why were you so keen to do it?
Well, I specialise in horse stunts, really, and I just wanted to prove to myself that I could turn a car over successfully, and I think it worked.
I think it did. Listen, explain the difference from a layman's point of view. What's the difference between a cannon roll, which you did, and a pipe roll, which Dorothy did?
Well, a cannon roll is a charge. In this case, it's compressed air, which blows a wooden pipe out from underneath the car and spins the car over.
Whereas a pipe roll is?
A pipe roll, you drive straight at that pipe, and it flips the car this way.
How did you get into the stunt business in the first place?
Well, it was Greg Power and his family very instrumental in getting me into the stunt business. Years ago, they took me jousting, and it went from there, really.
And you've never looked back?
No, I've done very well this last few years. Very pleased.
Broken a few bones?
Broken a few, broke my leg, and knocked out a few times.
So why do you want to do it? I mean, are you crazy? Is that the reason?
No, I like it. It's a challenge. It's good. We're not crazy in the least. I was quite uptight, really, coming in there, same as anybody.
Yeah, but laying your life on the line literally every day.
It's a challenge. I like it. Life's boring without that.
Well, we've got a clip of you in action as a fall guy in the TV series Walcott, where you made a rather spectacular exit through a window.
Stay calm.
That looked a quite shattering experience.
Yes, it was shattering. That was all right.
It was all right?
Yeah.
You've travelled all over the world, haven't you,
Yes.
on films? I mean, is it the great life?
It's a lot of hard work. There's more hard work than there are parties. There's not many of those sort of things, you know, parties that everybody imagines that there's. It's not really. It's hard work, and especially on horse pitches, which I work myself.
What about, though, when the cameras stop rolling? I mean, do you mix with the stars?
Yeah, we mix it. It was just like anybody else, really.
And now you've done the cannon roll? Ready to do another one?
Yeah, I'm happy. I'll get it better next time.
It wasn't too bad. Let's take another look at his first ever cannon roll. Well, we're going into the break now with a reminder of the 4 stunts we have so far in our sequence. Then rejoin us for 2 more stunning stunts and the presentation of the Stunt Challenge 85 trophy. Welcome back to Stunt Challenge 85. The chase continues, and in the spiral now for our fifth stunt, we have former Speedway star Lex Malloy, who is about to be confronted by the sort of obstacle he never encountered on the Speedway track.
Our escaping spy is not only under severe pressure from the one remaining car in the chase, but also faces big trouble ahead.
That was unbelievable, Lex.
That's brilliant.
Unbelievable.
That's great.
That strap's off, okay?
No.
Taking this off.
No, there's
Another one here. Let me have a look. Okay, Lex?
Stick behind you, Greg.
Don't get Biff here. Stand back. He's Scottish. He's all right.
He's
Tough
Scottish,
boy.
he's all right.
He comes from Wales.
How you doing down there? All right?
Let's just ease
Well,
down.
Any pain anywhere, Lex?
Everywhere.
everywhere.
You be there.
My arms, my legs, my back. But I think I'll be okay. I'm ready to go again.
Stay there. Stay there. That's it. You want to ease yourself up?
Yeah.
Ready? All right, just look up. Just get him up. All right. Well done, Lex.
Well done.
Don't go too fast, you fall over and break your neck.
What sort of speed were you doing when you hit the ramp?
I'd lie if I was saying 100, but it'd be somewhere between there and 50, I would think.
It looked pretty quick. It did. And you totally took all the breath out?
Yeah, completely. Yeah, completely.
What a way to earn a living.
It's a great way to earn a living.
This was the moment when Lex had all the breath knocked out of him as he parted company with his bike.
Well, no bones broken there, Lex, but you've broken a few in the past, haven't you?
Yeah, my leg 4 times, my ribs more times than I can remember, my wrists, back at the lower back twice, many more I can't even remember about now. But thankfully I've got a super guy that looks after me in Scotland, a guy called Carlo Biaggi, the bone surgeon supremo, or the sawbone as we call him. And I was just ready to give him the call before I did this one, just to be prepared.
What was that feeling like, though, when you got jerked back there?
Incredible, incredible. It was like a giant stood on me.
That bad?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why you call yourself the original bionic man.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I got plenty of metal in me, but nothing else works too well.
I'm not asking you to give any trade secrets away, but how much planning went into that? How many people involved?
An awful lot of people. Well, say 20 anyway. But thankfully, I've got a terrific stunt arranger on the job, Greg Powell, and of course Dave Vickers, who rigged it, who is like the best ever. Fantastic.
But you've had a bit of experience on motorbikes. I mean, you were a former top speedway rider.
Just a touch.
Just a touch, one of the best. I mean, how'd you get into the stunt world?
I suppose it's natural progression. I knew I couldn't go any further in the speedway world. I'd been riding for around about 10 years, and out of that 10 years I spent about 8 of them in hospital. So I thought, well, roughly. I thought, well, I've got to do something. I love this kind of business, you know. I suppose I'm a bit extroverted, like speedway riders are, you know, or most of them are, and stunt guys are the same. And, you know, you've got to assert yourself in this life, and, you know, I'm doing it now.
Listen, just breaking in there, because television viewers may have seen one of your more painful moments as a stuntman. You took a rather nasty knock when performing this stunt in the practice.
Don't worry, I won't be taking advantage of it. I mean, you could have a wife or something to take the calls. I've got no one. Ah, unless of course I could borrow Thelma.
Oh, I'd love to help you with your concern.
You took quite a bashing there, didn't you?
Yeah, I fractured the bottom of my back. Not terribly badly, but I ended up going to I didn't know I did it at the time. And I went to an osteopath to see about it. She jumped about my back and ended up paralyzing my left leg.
Oh.
So then I went to hospital and realised I'd fractured the bottom of my back.
Good heavens.
Yeah, put the muscles into spasm.
I know you're a great admirer of that other bionic man, Barry Sheen, and you took this fall for him in the reconstruction of the crash that nearly cost him his life. How many people took part in that stunt?
Tipping, who's a very, very capable performer. He did the takeoff, and I did the landing.
Oh, the two of you?
Yes.
Not the same rider?
Yeah, nope.
And how did you get shot across the floor?
By very, very large guys, actually physically thrown down the track.
Oh, great.
Yeah, yeah. But I also did the crash which caused Barry to have the bad accident.
Really?
Yeah.
The goodie and the baddie all in one.
Yeah, that's me.
Well done today. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Anyway, Lex Malloy, a top performer. Now let's take another look at the high-flying contribution he's made to Stunt Challenge 85.
Five down, one to go, and the sixth and final stunt was to have been performed by the unlucky Rocky Taylor. Greg Powell, Rocky's great friend, has volunteered to switch from his original stunt in this, the sixth and final part of our stunt sequence. Let's see what Greg Powell, the reigning Stunt Challenge champion, can do this year in the stunt that was prepared for Rocky.
Hey, lovely, lovely.
Beautiful it was.
You got a what, Greg?
Leave the helmet on for a minute, so have a look.
You're talented, Greg. It split the side of your crash helmet.
Was it really?
Yeah.
You split your crash helmet?
Yeah, look, right on the side.
Sure. Yes.
Let me just get... I'll do this time, I'll get out of it, because I'm a bit crossed up there for the minute.
Okay, come on
Put
now.
this helmet off, Greg.
No, leave it on for a minute.
Hang on.
Take my gloves off.
Yep.
Try and get out of it.
All right. Let's have a look at the crash helmet.
Well done.
Yeah.
It's all blacked out for that minute, you know, in that trailer.
Yeah.
And you can see it all coming down to the final front, but I was expecting it to just catch and go over, you know what I mean, onto its roof or something, but it just stayed there. Probably got in the grass and just held it still.
It was abuse.
It's all right, got a bit of ground in there.
Wasn't too bad. Rocky would have been proud of that.
Oh, Rocky, well, it was Rocky's job, you know. Unfortunately, Rocky's not here because of an unforeseen accident.
Yeah.
And I've got this job on because Graham had to take my job over. But I wish Rocky had been here to be able to do it, but it's one of those things, isn't it?
But what's it like driving blind into something like that?
Well, it was all right driving into it because it's not so blind going into it. It's just when you actually hit it because everything's covered up, that just everything goes clear, and suddenly you see daylight again. And your sire was in caught the ground coming down, but I was expecting a bit more after that.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's a good wreck, isn't it? I told you I wrecked some motors, didn't I?
What about the old man here? No shit. Hey, come here, no shit. He didn't do badly, did he?
Well, no, I think a terrific job. Terrific job. I would say that sort of job, anything can happen. You see how far you clear these people away from it. Look, you see where he's finished up, 200 feet from the articulator. I think a very professional job. I'm very proud of him.
Are you glad it's over, Dad?
Oh, my gosh. Leave me alone. Give me a light now.
This was Greg's view of the awesome double obstacle of a porter cabin and an articulated lorry.
Well, Greg, as well as competing this year, you've also been arranging the stunts. How do you think they've gone?
I think everyone has performed excellent this year. It's been fantastic. All the stunts all work well and everyone's safe. That's the main thing.
What about Dorothy Ford's stunt? I mean, you're as excited about it as almost if you'd done it yourself.
Dorothy Ford's stunt, in my mind, was the best car stunt I've ever seen. And it frightened me. When she hit that ramp, it frightened me terribly. I think it was the greatest thing I've ever seen.
But Greg, I think you want to make the point that stunt work is all about teamwork.
Teamwork, it definitely is, because on all the gags we've been doing this week, everyone's been chipping in, doing their little pieces, and helping out, you know. It makes a better job at the end of it if everyone helps each other, definitely.
I mean, somebody like Dave Bickers in the background makes it easy for you.
Dave Bickers is a great asset in the background. He makes everything safe for you. I could never know one better working with me at all.
You seem to have thrived on arranging the stunts. Is this going to play a more prominent part in your future?
Oh, hopefully, because I don't want to do stuff. I'd sooner stand behind the camera and arrange the stuff, yes. I'd like to.
Because, I mean, it's a lot more work. You've got to get here early and leave last.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, the thing I noticed this week with all the sort of work we've been doing is that you're very nervous yourself for the people who's actually performing the stunts. I think probably just as nervous as them. But, you know, it's good.
Listen, what do you prefer, horses or cars? Because you used to be a great horseman. You know, what do you prefer?
It's very hard. I enjoy riding and doing the work on horses. Cars, I can't. There's no difference to me, really. I enjoy both.
Well, we've got an example of you combining both horsepowers. It was in the film Sahara, where you jumped a car on a horse. I suppose we want to go around Aintree after that.
On a Shire horse, maybe. Not on one of your songs.
Not the way. Anyway, Greg, we've got a clip here of your sensational stunt last year, the spectacular lorry roll. Remember the camera we put inside the cab with you?
Yeah.
That's right. Tell us what it was like. Talk us through those final moments.
Well, just after I switched on, you remember I put my thumbs up.
Yeah.
I think that was more out of nervousness than anything else. And the final approach, everything was fine, you know. The only thing what really did frighten me is when I went up the ramp and we had the green vehicle, which was parked across it, seemed to come right through the cab at me. And I just, you know, that was a shock, but it was fine.
Do you keep the eyes open or are they shut?
I don't know. I really don't know. I don't know what happens. When you start until you're finished, I don't really know. I'd like to think I do.
But Greg, I think we should stress the point that if any children are watching, they must not try any of these stunts.
Strictly for professionals, please don't try any of the gags that we're doing at all, or any other gag they see on television. Wait till they're older, left school, and they know what really they want to do. Then give us a telephone call, or any one of the boys or girls.
Thanks, Greg. I'll let you go and cast your vote now for the Stunt Challenge Champion of 1985, while we have another look at your over-the-top performance. Now, before announcing the winner of Stunt Challenge 85, let's see our stunt team at work in the completed sequence. the stunt artists and our producers have decided which is the best stunt. They've judged them for skill and execution, and all 6 artists will receive a special silver tankard as a memento, and the winner will get that £2,000 first prize. And the winner, the Stunt Challenge 85 champion, is Dorothy Ford. Come on, Dorothy. Hey. Well done. Congratulations. Terrific. Did you expect that?
No.
First woman ever to win it.
Yes, but it's all team. They all deserve to win.
Ah, that's nice. Anyway, come on, let's get your prize. Mr. Peter Dimolo, the marketing manager of Triton Showers, now presents the trophy. Terrific. Well done. And Dorothy, there's also a cheque for £2,000.
Ah, yes. This we're going to give to Rocky Taylor, who has always been in your shows before, and also to the hospital at St. Thomas's.
That is marvellous. Well done.
It's half each, I think they're giving it.
That's marvellous. Well done. Enjoy the champagne. Oh. So there you have it, Stunt Challenge 85. And we'll leave you with one more look at the combined skills of the stunt men and women who work at the double and put life and limb on the line every time those cameras roll. Believe me, they really are a breed apart. Ooh. Hello.
Hello, Phil boy.
Hey, thanks. Oh, no, hang on. I've seen the way you do drive. I'd rather walk, thanks.
Please yourself.
If I had the wings of Mercury, I'd be by your side. Your best friend just told me how high you fly. Someone here looking for you, someone who cares. But if I could take all this danger away, I know I wouldn't dare. If I had the wheels of fire, I'd fly like a star. Holding on, I'd fly to where you are. Someone here who needs you, someone who knows. And if I could leave all this danger behind me, I know I wouldn't go. Someone here who's falling and spinning around. But if I had the wings of Mercury, I'd never touch the ground. If I had the wings of Mercury, if I had the wings of Mercury,
That's ready to go.
Tomorrow night on Channel 4, Lou Grant becomes involved in a case of demolition.
Live around here? Across the street. What are you going to do when they tear that down?
I'm not going nowhere. Me, I'm not budging.
Los Angeles, the disposable city. Too many people in L.A. think new is good, even if it's ugly.
You want to write about me?
Yeah, that's it. That's all.
Come on up and take a good look.
Undiscovered Art versus the Bulldozers in Lou Grant, tomorrow night at 5 to 10 on Channel 4.
Next tonight on Channel 4, the film A Shining Season, the story of an athlete with only a short time to live. On Thames, a new series of the drama Travelling Man.
We'll pay this one money. What's the date, check card?
No idea.
Idiot!
I suppose you've got enough checks on you for the whole holiday checkbook?
Of course, money. Oh dear, running low.
Don't worry, money, I've already paid. It's much easier and faster with me. Here's your receipt.
and a free sticker.
Oh, cheek.
thanks,
I didn't get Brian today without paying.
I've always wanted to stick one on him.
So now you know how Access can really help you.
For more details, contact us on 01200 0200.
Access, your flexible friend.
Hey, good looking. What you got cooking?
Look what we've cooked up for you. New lean cuisine.
Hey, good looking.
Dishes like chicken à l'orange or zucchini lasagna. That's lean cuisine. Lean because we've cut down on fat. Cuisine because you demand more taste.
Hey, good looking.
12 delicious recipe dishes. That's new lean cuisine from Finders. Great tasting cooking, good looking.
When you've got a bit of a problem with a gas appliance, call the gas people.
I wonder if you could possibly help. This is Kenway, is it? Is your central heating not working? We'll have to see what we can do about that.
We understand. We care. And we can help.
Mrs. Kenway, I've come to fix your central heating.
Our service engineers are experienced, fully trained, care about their work and how it's done.
It won't give you any more trouble.
Service from the gas people
Cheerio.
isn't just service. It's service with care.
Mr. Wallace?
That's gas service care.
Wonderful, so sweet.
I thought it was rather dry. Country manner. So light, so subtle, so buy some.
Starting tomorrow at 9, a new series of Minder.
Motor's been sitting out there so long it's starting to take root. Along comes a cash customer out of the blue and bits start falling off like it was autumn.
Am I right in thinking you were just trying to knock out the vicar's telly to me?
Go to the top of the class, Arthur.
Give him a smack, Terry.
He done the cabbage patch at Parker's.
We don't want cabbages sprouting up through the rockery, do we?
We plough the fields and scatter.
The comedy is back in a new series of Minder. Tomorrow at 9 on Thames.
Remember me?
Never saw it before in my life.
What?
Harmony, eh? Burning oil like it's going out of style.
Had me going there for a second. You got my message then?
Hey, propeller's not fouled.
Ray, give me some credit.
All right, leave it with me. See what I can do.
You got a car I could borrow just for a couple of hours?
Blue Escort van. The touch venerable. Back of the park.
What's that for you?
Shall I wrap those for you, sir?
Hmm? Oh, well, I don't know that I've finished.
It's just that we close in 5 minutes.
Close?
For lunch.
You never used to.
Since the first of the month.
Oh, I see. Oh. Oh, well, you'd better take them, hadn't you?
Thank you.
Excuse me, that young lady's gone off with my money.
Thank you.
friend of George's? George. Gay George. George, I'll tell you I might call round then.
Yeah, you mentioned it. What are you looking for?
A couple of £5 ramps, okay?
See the money? Why? Oh, I don't think it hasn't been tried.
You ever see him?
Quiz game's extra.
Yes or no?
Not sure why.
Oh, he sold me some smack.
Eh?
I want talcum powder, I'll go to Boots.
Oh, lesson number 1, know who you're dealing with.
I'll give you a call.
Yeah, how'd you know George?
Met him in a sauna.
Lovely. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
It's not political, is it?
No.
All right. There you go.
Can I sell you some postcards?
Do I look like a tourist?
Little Billy Do to the folks back home. Touches like that that people remember.
Well, that's all I need, a salesman.
All right, come on, show me. Sit. All of memory.
Band when you like.
Tell me. What would one have to do to,
Yes.
well, to get you to,
Say it.
oh, to recreate the pose?
Just pay the entrance fee.
How much?
It's negotiable.
Let's negotiate.
£40.
Come on, that's a bit steep. Take Diners Club, do you?
Alas.
Alas. All right. All right, 40 it is.
10 now, the rest tonight.
Why?
My hair. It needs fixing. You don't want me too rough and ready. Do you?
Wait a minute, not so fast.
How do you know our show?
That's right.
You haven't done much of this sort of thing, have you?
Not a lot, no.
Shows. Too modest.
Modest.
Most tricks are just... well, just that. Business. Sometimes, not often, a girl does it because she really fancies the guy. Thank you.
How much do you owe him? P?
Pounds.
Okay, I'll leave it in the office with the keys.
Okay.
Was a bad one? Anybody hurt?
No, thank God.
Good. What did Ray say was the matter with mine?
Oh, something about the fuel injection. Makes sense?
Sort of. Any messages?
Oh, yes, there was a call. Wayman said he'd meet you in the boozer at 9, either tonight or tomorrow.
Thanks.
Max, here a sec. Don't react to what I'm telling you. There's a man, dodgy looking, nosing around Harmony.
Thanks, Joe. What would I do without you?
Oh, woodwork. How quaint. I'd like to see a man with a hobby.
I see. Dodgy type hanging around Harmony.
Me? Dodgy? How flattering. Who said?
Joe.
Who Joe?
Wife of boatman.
Ah, give her my regards. Oh, we're running low on scotch.
Well, you haven't been seeing me recently. How'd you like to do my ironing?
Hardly at all. So, what's news?
Just scored 10 quid's worth of heroin. Half thought I was coming face to face with Steve for a moment.
No?
No. Pretty sick feeling, then.
Yeah. Yeah, I can believe. Are you sure he's into drugs?
Well, everything seems to point to it. Couldn't be doing it to get at me, could he?
Nah. Hardly likely. So, what else?
Fixed up a meet with one of the cops on the Pemba drowning.
Might be interesting. I've been looking at these photos again. Pictures speak volumes. I wish these would. You know, there's got to be a clue amongst this lot somewhere. Walking the streets with a pocket full of smack wasn't too clever.
I didn't, I dumped it. You know, scoring heroin in this town's about as difficult as getting hold of aspirin. There's a story for you.
Max, you don't read your papers. It's been written dozens of times.
Yeah, I suppose. You know, it sounded urgent. What do you want?
I need a favor.
You?
Me.
Robbo? Fleet Street pundit?
Yes, me.
Why?
I hate having to ask. I mean, I do favors, right? I don't ask them.
That how it's done?
Yes. I ever tell you about Billy?
Billy? No, I don't think so.
Up here at university. That's why I asked you to hang on. I'm a godfather.
Brando did it better.
It's no joke, Max.
What is it?
The father is my news editor.
Ah, no joke.
Came down from the sticks together. Good news editors are rare. Like rocking horse droppings. Haven't met one yet, didn't have a provincial accent.
Billy.
Hmm?
Billy.
Oh, yeah. Started to go sour, apparently. At the sessionals. First term exams.
What did? What went sour?
Bennies. Uppers. Burn the midnight oil.
Go on.
Oh, then downers to counteract the uppers. And
how far has it got?
No one knows. As far as petty thefts, things like that.
What about the bill?
No. Not yet. Oh, matter of time.
Well, Robert, I mean, honestly, what can I do?
You can help.
I'm not a social worker.
You know the drug scene?
Used to, 2 years ago.
Hasn't changed.
Like hell it hasn't. Spiked sweeties in the playground. That's post my time, thank God. Do you know that there is even a black market now in addicts' urine?
Yeah,
no,
listen,
it's true. They sell it by the bottle so they can get registered and then flog the prescription.
Yeah, I know. Listen, I know that. Look, I'm in a jam. A friend I like and respect in a jam.
No more digressions. We agreed, remember?
Do I have to hire you? Eh? I mean, you quote a daily rate, do you? You called me once, not a million years ago, when you were in stuck. Did I fob you off with a lot of excuses? Scratch mine, I'll scratch yours. That's our deal. Well, it's time to show your nails, Max.
Okay, what do you want?
Let's meet with the father first.
Is he up here?
Yeah. Came up together. Then talk to the girl.
What girl?
Billy.
Christ, I thought Billy was a boy.
Oh, no. No. Billy's very much a girl.
Yeah.
Sorry if it was loud. Thought you weren't in. You marked my essay?
I skimmed through it.
And? Well, what's that mean?
Okay, as far as it goes.
But?
Yeah, lots of them.
Specifically?
We'll talk about it again in Tuesday's seminar.
Okay. What about tonight? You coming?
Of course.
We going to dance?
I shouldn't wonder.
Why have you gone so cool on me?
I haven't.
You're like a stranger.
Billy, I have never been so busy. I've got a stack of essays. I've got exams to set. I'm lecturing on Rochester next week because Mike's away. The opening of the new wing, local TV coverage.
It's Deirdre, isn't it?
What is Deirdre?
Hard turn in the sun now, I suppose.
Billy, this is boring. Grow up.
Oh, I was grown up enough last term.
A term is a long time in politics. Deirdre, like yourself, like all the rest, are just part of my tutorial duties.
Bullshit!
What oft was thought, but ne'er so well expressed.
So what was I? A bit of historical inevitability.
You say so.
You're a bastard, Alan.
You say so. Don't slam it.
Well, she always seemed tired. That was the first inkling. Whacked out. But then she said she couldn't sleep properly.
Did you lose weight?
I don't know. Never had much to lose. Zombified. That was Joan's word for it. Arthur's wife.
Did either of you ever tackle her outright?
No, I couldn't. I talked about it, but no, couldn't go through with it.
You mentioned stealing. She steal anything from home?
She didn't steal. Borrowed a few pounds from my wife's handbag, that's all.
You haven't been burgled, anything like that?
No. You mean by her?
Aided and abetted. It's not that rare.
My God. If she is addicted, what would it be costing?
Could be anything up to 50, 60 quid a day. What about men friends? Does she live with anyone?
No. Is that relevant?
Could be. Plays havoc with your emotional life.
My God. Where's the attraction?
Happy hour. As soon as a problem crops up, the hungry arm.
It doesn't solve anything.
You know that.
Why? Good home.
Loving family, yeah, all the trimmings.
I have nourished and brought up children, and they have rebelled against me. Isaiah 1.
Nah, it could be any of 1,000 reasons. Might even be your fault.
Me? How do you work that out?
Pressure?
What sort?
Well, I mean, for instance, how much did you have to wind her up to get into university?
Not at all. She was always highly motivated.
The question is, did she do it to please you?
No. To please herself.
Through pleasing you?
Look, why don't you wait till you see her? Then you'll be in a position to judge.
I mean, how do you think she's going to react to me? She won't want to know.
Play it by ear.
Play it by... What the hell does that mean? I tell you, it's a half-cocked idea, really.
But you will meet her.
Mr. Parsons? Sorry, still no message.
All right, I'll have another large G&T.
Yes, sir, right away.
I'll give you one.
Best offer I've had today. Thanks. Keep stopping, keep starting again.
Know what they say? If at first you don't succeed, pack it in.
Or, if at first you don't succeed, try a gin.
Haven't heard that.
You doing history?
No English.
Don't know Shirley King, do you?
Sorry.
Would have been no other coincidence.
You a student?
Of life,
What do you read?
Guardian, Biggles.
Subjects, silly.
Well, I'll tell you a secret. I'm just here for the coffee.
It's not that good.
It's not that dear.
It shouldn't be. It's subsidized.
Make me feel guilty. What's up the racket?
English department party.
You're not going?
I have been.
Like that, is it? Well, nice talking to you,
Billy,
Billy.
where are you going?
Sorry. Do you really want to know?
Well, I wouldn't have asked if I didn't.
No, of course you wouldn't. Well, I'm off for the weekend on my boat.
Your boat.
That's right.
Your very own.
My very own. Get a bit of fresh air, look at some green fields, a cold glass of white wine, a little music. You want to come? Well, shouldn't have asked. You probably got other plans.
No. Couldn't I be cruel or something?
Can you cook?
Can a bird fly?
You got a job. What do you need?
Nothing.
Let's go.
So far, so good.
Suppose so.
Cheer up. She's in good hands.
Not too literally, I hope.
I'm all right. You all right? London and locals got everything, all right. Cars, jobs, holidays, houses, businesses, all right. Now with the big yellow section for all other ads free. Big yellow, big on bargains. London and local advertiser. I'm all right. You all right?
Try to outweigh the world's heaviest. Stand next to the world's tallest. Play our sports computers. See who smashed the box office records. Hear the world's loudest snore. It's the biggest, tallest, widest, smallest, fastest, slowest, highest, lowest, greatest Guinness World of Records. Trocadero, Piccadilly.
Today, the Svenssons are moving into number 47. And the neighbors are a little intrigued. Coming from Sweden, the Svenssons are accustomed to having the best in their house, particularly in the kitchen. This is equipped with Swedish-designed Husqvarna kitchen appliances, including the incredible Kombitherm cooker, which has a main oven that actually cooks in 4 different ways. Looks like it's made quite an impression. So, British people, forget your Joneses. It's the Svenssons you've got to keep up with.
Head and Shoulders? I didn't know you had dandruff.
I don't.
Head and Shoulders? I didn't know you had dandruff.
I don't.
Head and Shoulders works. Tests prove it. Wash hair in ordinary medicated shampoo and the dandruff can still be there. But with Head and Shoulders, it's completely clear.
Head and Shoulders? I didn't know you had dandruff.
I don't.
Most people who use Head and Shoulders regularly don't have dandruff, just healthy-looking, attractive hair.
There's nothing like lasagna to bring out the Italian in a Findus chef.
Basil. Oregano.
Parmesan. Cheddar.
Of course, there's no debating the quality of the beef or the freshness of the pasta. But as to the recipe, well...
Parmesan. Cheddar.
Authentic lasagna, made with...
Parmesan.
And a daring touch of...
Cheddar.
From Findus, the finest food, frozen.
What's your speciality? Culinary-wise.
Oh, I'm an all-rounder.
Do you need a cookbook?
Don't be so insulting.
Where'd you get that?
Store over there somewhere.
Did you nick it?
Oh, it's not. A man gave it to me.
Really? Where was I?
Don't know.
Bit light-fingered, aren't you?
Should hear me play the piano.
Have you done?
Thank you.
She yours?
Yeah. You a canals man?
Family were. 3 generations.
Really?
Aye. Up on there in Calder. My mother were born in a butty near Selby.
What was a butty?
Butty? Butty was boat without engine. That'll pull bit. Monkey boat with engine where gaffer lived.
Tough life, eh?
Aye, happen.
Expect you have a bit of a quiet laugh at people like us, don't you?
No, not really. I'd rather see canals used than not. It's not so long since, you know, that Bradford was so polluted, there were blue flames on top of water. True? Aye, gospel. I saw it myself. Water don't get stirred up, it dies. Now, I could show you where foxes come down at night to sup. Less than a mile from here, you can pick freshwater mussels out at cut.
What did they do when the canal froze over?
What, mussels?
No, the people.
Aye. Half wages all round. That's when you did some poaching and peg making, smuggling. Reckon you used to smuggle brandy in here?
You kidding?
No. Pub like this, you know. Had stables for overnight stock. Some of them could take up to 20 horses. When you've drunk up, I'll show you around if you like.
Hey, 2 pints of best, Squire. Come on, Bob.
Excuse us. There's a couple more no-alls. Can't tell Stoke from Bitty.
First time for everything.
What?
Just met a bird who couldn't fly.
Oh, that's unfair. I'm not used to the cooker. Anyway, who are you to criticise thieving from impoverished students?
Guilty?
So, you live on a barge.
Narrowboat, please.
And how? I'm black and blue.
Like being a snail, go everywhere with your home on your back.
No wife? No family?
Just Frankie.
You really like it?
I don't like being cooped up, shut in.
You don't call this being cooped up?
No. I like not having a telephone number. I like not having to pay rates. I like not having to worry how big the milk bill's going to be every Friday. I like not having a postal code. I like not having a front door for the watchtower people to knock on. Yeah. Yeah, I like it.
Don't you get fed up?
Oh, of course. Tie up, spend a couple of nights in a pub, farmhouse or something.
Who are those people?
I'm looking for somebody.
One of those?
Maybe.
You're devious, aren't you?
Am I?
Well, every time you answer a question, I end up knowing less than I did before I asked it.
Moral must be clear.
What do you use for money?
I've some saved. I do odd jobs. Think you can wash up on your own?
You're not a male chauvinist, are you?
No, but I've got to go out.
Tonight?
Yep.
Put it off.
Can't.
Please.
There's a couple of magazines, books, cassettes. You shouldn't get bored.
Oh, changing my Max, stay with me. I need company tonight. Really, I do.
I can't.
Make it worth your while.
I've got to meet somebody. It's fixed. I'll be back soon, I promise.
Listen, earlier you asked me if I was into drugs.
Yeah. How'd you get involved?
I used to buy speed from this dealer. And he gave me this other stuff, and when he knew that I liked it, he stopped giving and started to charge.
Chinese?
Yeah. So hip in those days. I didn't know what Chinese was.
Are any of the students into hard drugs?
Well, put it this way. There's lots of aluminium foil boxes in dustbins which haven't been used in cooking.
Billy, look. I've got to go to this meeting. I can't not go.
Fair enough.
I'll be quick as I can.
Sure.
Won't be long. Quiet tonight.
We are a bit.
We know each other.
So I'm told. Let's sit down.
Thank you. Left my boobs in my other shirt.
Just looking for a wire.
Get away.
Let's save time, eh? I know who you are, really are.
I imagine you might.
So what do you want?
You worked a sudden death recently, man named Pember, Neil Pember.
Did I?
Don't fanny about.
Okay, I was on the case.
Any of these 6 names crop up?
What's that? Babcock?
Braybrook.
No bells ringing?
None of them?
Nope.
Any suspicion of foul play?
Pember was receiving calls, threatening, disturbing, I'm not sure which.
Any idea who from?
Thought you might tell me, but nothing beyond that.
Who inherits?
Wife?
Didn't know there was one.
Well, wife, sort of. She came running. Incidentally, how long are you going to be around?
What's it to you?
I don't think my governor would like to think you were on his patch. I'm not going to tell him. If I was in the advice business, you know what I'd say?
No, what?
On your bike.
How the hell can you sleep with all that racket? Billy. Billy? Billy? Oh, Christ. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on, Billy. Come on. Come on, Billy. Wake up. Billy. Come on. Come on. Come on, Billy, stay awake. Don't go to sleep. Come on. Make this. Come on. Come on. Come on. That's it. Drink, Billy. That's it. Come on. Come on, for Christ's sake! Sleeping pills, remember? Remember? That's right. Come on. Drink some more. Now, do you remember me? Do you remember me? I'm Max, yes? Max, come on. Drink some more. Drink some more. Come on now. Tell me again. Who am I? Who am I? That's right. Now, come on. What's happened to you? Sleeping pills, Billy! Do you know where you are? Yes, you do! Come on! Drink, drink. Now fight it, Billy. Come on, fight it! Now listen! You want to kill yourself, you do it somewhere else, you hear me? Come on, get it down. Come on.
He's a bastard.
Who is? Who is? This is no good, you're lifting up. Come on, come on! Come on, you've got to walk. Yes, walk. Come on. Walk and talk. Come on, start talking.
He said he loved me.
Who did? Who said?
Max.
That's right. Max, you die on me, girl, and I'm in big trouble. So you're not going to die, are you?
No.
Are you?
No.
You sleeping pills, didn't you? No. What did you do a damn stupid thing like that for? Come on. Left, right. Come on. Left, right. Just like I told you. Left, right. Moment of truth, Billy. Can you swim?
Swim?
Yeah, you. Can you swim?
Of course I can swim.
Good girl.
Come here to lose a few pounds, Fat Wallet?
Now give over, you two. You don't have to stuff yourself silly with this lot every day.
I'll get lost, Fat Wallet. That's just the trouble money. He does, very often. Look, you're quids in with me, and I carry more weight than most when it comes to shopping. Leave him at home. Better to be safe than sorry, money.
You're a real sport, Access. Oh, no.
Looks like you're throwing money around again, Fat Wallet.
So now you know how Access can really help you.
For more details, contact us on 01200 0200.
Access, your flexible friend.
When you buy a travel card, you can not only get cheaper travel on the tube, on top of that, you get the buses for free. The travel card.
Robertson's have made a new range of marmalade and jams. Still with the same delicious taste. Still as thick and fruity. But Robertson's today's recipe has 40% less sugar.
Super Soft Set 2 is something new. Spray it on wet hair and your style is set there.
Set 2. And do something new.
Super Soft Set 2 is something new. Spray it on dry hair and your style will stay there.
Set 2. And do something new.
Can it really be 15 years since Mother first showed me this secret cove? She still looks so young. Now I share that secret too. Oil of Ulay Beauty Fluid. It feels so delicate. Maybe that's why it's absorbed so easily, to help my complexion stay soft and young-looking. My daughter knows our secret cove. One day she'll know about Oil of Ulay.
Oil of Ulay. It can help you stay young-looking too.
The Mirror's back with the greatest ever story on the world's most famous street, Hilda Ogden's Coronation Street scrapbook. Amazing pictures, plus card this card. It's coming your way. You could win a fortune. Get the Mirror tomorrow.
Max. Oh.
Bit rough.
My head.
Little man, big axe.
Yeah, you know him. Oh my God, there's a lump.
I'll make some coffee.
Thought I could smell eggs and bacon.
You could. You fancy some?
Oh, sadist. You got a mirror?
The way you look, I wouldn't bother.
You saved my life, didn't you?
You nearly wasted it.
How do you know what to do?
I've done it before.
You're she.
She?
She grateful?
No.
Why not?
She was dead.
Oh.
Conversation stopper, isn't it?
Where are my clothes?
They're drying. Still pong a bit. You may have to pick some others up.
Are you really as tough as you talk?
Yeah. Got badges for it. Where'd you get the pills?
In a drawer. I can't imagine you not being able to sleep.
Yeah, well, they weren't mine. I'd forgotten they were there. How'd you like it?
What?
Coffee.
Voluntarily? Teeth hurt.
If I stayed in that pub for another pint, you'd be on a mortuary slab now. I think so black you have to go out and try and kill yourself.
According to the karma, nobody dies.
According to Lomax, they do. Either that or I've seen some very good imitations.
Death is a sleep from which you always awaken. You don't live one life, you live many lives.
So you've been doing smack? You ever inject?
No. I'm scared stiff of needles. There's a girl at college, ex-nurse. She'll do it for you for a consideration.
Christian of her?
I've had some real bummers. So now I'm kicking it.
Can you?
Of course.
They all say that, you know.
I went to a clinic in the summer.
Did you? And? What about your family?
I don't have any. Well, I do, but we don't get on. Can't we go more slowly?
Go more slowly, we'll stop. You said something last night, in fact you said it more than once, about a man. Called him a bastard. What are you talking about?
No idea?
Kept saying.
I'm sorry.
Okay, you get some kit. I'll do the shopping.
Yes, Doc.
Kill herself.
Kill herself.
How?
Pills, sleepers. Realise what that would have meant, Godfather? Me with a dead kid on my boat, been great, wouldn't it?
I'm sorry, Max. I had no idea.
I told you it was a non-starter.
Is she into drugs?
Says she's kicked it, she hasn't.
What sort?
Sniffing heroin.
Oh.
Like all the others, she thinks if you only sniff it, don't actually inject, you won't get hooked.
And you think that's why she... the pills?
I didn't.
Well, didn't you ask?
Of course I asked! She doesn't know. She's as messed up as they come. There's some fella involved, a student or something.
And you don't know any more?
No.
How did you get the money to pay for the drugs?
Beg, steal or borrow. I quote.
Well, you think it's a token attempt or what? I mean...
Token? Was real! Very real. I was there. I've seen it too many times.
People talk about it, they don't
No, wrong. They talk about it, they're thinking about it. They're thinking about it, they do it.
What do I tell Arthur?
Tell him the whole story, sooner the better. She needs help. I mean, proper help.
She was such a bright kid.
Yeah, well, not for much longer. Just spell it out to him. It isn't a crime, it's a sickness, like alcoholism. She needs treatment.
Okay.
What she says, the college is rife with it. An ex-nurse will shoot you up for a fee. A minicab driver will actually guarantee to get you to your dealers and back again without getting busted.
I didn't realize it.
Time you got writing scribe.
Why can't I stay with you?
We've done all that.
Just for a while,
No.
please. Now there's a word I haven't often used.
Yeah, I can believe that.
Why can't I?
Because.
You've got to look for somebody.
That's right.
I could help. 2 pairs of eyes. I thought you liked me.
I do.
The more you knew, the more you'd like.
Too old for you, Billy. Too set, too cynical.
Oh, balls!
Look, get some treatment, get yourself sorted out, get back into your books, Not time these days to learn everything the hard way.
Now you stop right there. You are a bloody chauvinist, aren't you? How dare you assume you know what's good for me?
I knew last night, didn't I?
Okay, and I'm grateful, but I have thanked you.
Yeah, you have. Now do something else, will you? Call your folks.
Don't want to hear from me.
Don't they? I'd love to hear from my kid.
Maybe.
I'll take care.
I will.
And the bastard, whoever. Forget him. They're not worth it.
Plenty more fish in the sea. What about a goodbye kiss?
Yeah, love one.
I was asking, not offering.
Well, that's the same thing, isn't it?
Suppose. I'll miss you.
I'll miss you.
I meant to.
I meant to.
Well, come on. Look at the words. What are they telling you?
Not very much, Alan.
What's wrong with you two, huh? Midterm lethargy? Heavy session last night? Stanza 1, silent and salient. An example of what?
Alliteration.
Yes, but what else?
Half rhyme.
Para-rhyme. A technique much favored by... whom? Neil Kinnock? Fred Astaire?
Owen.
Dr. Owen?
Wilfred.
Excellent. Well done. So this is Wilfred Owen.
Could be.
Could be indeed. For that matter, it could be almost anybody, couldn't it?
It is Owen.
It is. The trouble, my loves, is that the crowds have all gone home. The floodlights have been switched off. And for this relief, much thanks. Hello. Speaking.
So without further ado, I would like to welcome forward His Worship the Mayor.
Young, an English student, jumped to her death during the opening ceremony for a new wing on the campus by the Lord Mayor. Detectives have now set up a small headquarters here at the university, and investigations into the tragedy are now underway.
Oh, why?
Why? I mean, was it the drugs? Was it the man? What?
All my life, trouble has been woman trouble. Didn't even touch her, not a hair. One time I walk away, do the decent thing, she... So bloody stupid. Why the hell do you have to get me involved? Why can't you clear up your own stupid messes?
Godfather. She really got under your skin, didn't she?
Yes, she did. And I should have been more of... Go on, get lost.
I'll be back.
Don't bother. How come that TV there?
Oh, some local big shot. Opening a new wing.
Next Tuesday, Travelling Man will be at the later time of 9:20.
World Cup Football Special next Tuesday at 7:20 comes live from Ninian Park, Cardiff with exclusive coverage of Wales versus Scotland. A vital World Cup qualifying game with only one team certain of going through from Group 7. Spain is ideally placed with a home game against Iceland, which would leave the two home countries battling for one playoff place for the trip to Mexico next year. Join Brian Moore for exclusive live coverage of Wales versus Scotland next Tuesday at 7:20 on Thames.
Can I have your hand, Mummy?
Why, darling?
Because I've come to tell you a fortune.
How lovely. There. What do you see?
I see you're going to be a princess.
Really? How do you know that?
Because your hands are pretty like a princess.
Thank you. That's because I use fairy liquid. It's gentle and mild to help keep my hands soft and pretty.
So will you be a fairy princess?
That's right. With fairy liquid magic to make the dishes sparkling clean.
Can you tell my fortune now?
Maybe. Let me look into my magic bubble.
What do you see?
I see a lovely little girl with my tea towel on her head.
Now hands that do dishes can feel soft as your face with mild green fairy liquid.
You can trust the dealers in Car Buyer. Car Buyer, in your newsagents now, only 20p.
Oh, lay, as they say. And should you ever cast a net over this land of castanets, better carry a card, please. Will they mend your Fiesta while you take a siesta?
No.
Will your plastic settle the bill with the Barber of Seville?
No.
The fact is, In Spain, the Barclay card is welcome at thousands more places than certain charge cards I could mention. Use it at restaurants, shops, dry cleaners, hotels. Visa España, you might say.
No matter where you bank, apply for a Barclay card now.
You rub the left box out, then the right box out. Rub a bit, scratch a bit, and shake it all about. 3 diagonal crosses weighing 100,000 pounds. That's what it's all about. Oi!
Play SO noughts and crosses, and you could win £100,000, or any one of the 30,000 cash prizes to be won every day, where you see this sign.
Tomorrow at 10:30, take a drive through Death Valley, where danger lurks around the corner.
Billy, then I know what you'd like.
Hey, that's the RV we saw this morning.
He's back at it again, Perry. That girl's cut the same weather as those two last year.
Your blabbing about it ain't gonna do nothing except maybe scare folks around town half to death.
A boy witness.
Hi, Billy.
Trapped in Death Valley. Tomorrow at 10:30 on Thames.
When a 70-year-old man turns to crime, Mike Stone's sent to investigate tonight at 11:30. This is Thames from London.
The engineers and the TUC, it's a split. Mr. Scargill wins, Mr. Kinnock says, I'll decide. Under the Tebbit umbrella, the man who sold $1 million. The spy master with the tricks of his trade. And now they've found her, will they raise her? Good evening. The Trades Union Congress heard tonight that it faces the biggest division in its history. The General Secretary of the Engineering Workers' Union, Mr. Gavin Laird, says the union's executive is committed to accepting government money for union ballots. The TUC's General Secretary, Mr. Norman Willis, has been with the union tonight trying for a compromise. He didn't get it. The majority of the unions are against taking the money and voted that unions must not deliberately defy Congress decisions. The electricians' president, Mr. Eric Hammond, says if the engineers are thrown out, they'll be out too.
The pressure to reaffirm TUC opposition to government labour laws brought the crisis over state funding for ballots to a head. The engineers and electricians' stand drew condemnation, but some support.
In a battle, do you send 2 guards regiments back to the barracks? What military commander would do that? All I can think is only those who have failed.
Opponents to Composite 2 have said we're fighting yesterday's battles. Clive, who also opposes Composite 2, I'm sure wouldn't agree with that, because he referred to the charge of the Light Brigade. And Clive asked the question, do you send 2 regiments back to the barracks, he said, when you face a battle? Well, the simple answer, Clive, is yes, you do, if they've given notice of deserting.
The vote for continued defiance was overwhelming. Later, the engineers' executive set off seemingly in light spirits to make their crucial decision, whether to promise that they won't accept government money for future ballots or defy Congress to expel them. The executive had till now relied on a 12-to-1 vote by their members to keep taking the money. After a 90-minute session, the General Secretary, Gavin Laird, left to draft a statement explaining that the union's position couldn't be changed. Since the weekend, the 10-man executive's position had hardened from 6-4 to 7-3 against the TUC. Soon after 9 o'clock, Mr. Willis arrived at the engineers' hotel to meet Mr. Laird and the executive.
Yes, I'm going the wrong way.
The very latest on the engineers now. We have an interview from Blackpool about precisely what their position is and how they reached it.
By Congress, we find ourselves therefore in a position of having to say to the General Council that we are not prepared to take any action that could be construed as rejecting the decision of our members who, as stated, voted by no less than 12-to-1 in favour of our accepting public money for balloting purposes. Neither are we prepared to ignore the decision of our National Committee, our policy-making body, whose instruction was not to apply for further public funds until such time as we had balloted our members again, and in turn thereby allowing the whole of our membership to decide the policy as to whether or not to continue to apply for such funds. In conveying both our concern and disappointment, as contained in this letter, in no way impugn the sincerity of those...
With the Congress also voted by 64,000 to back Mr. Arthur Scargill's demand that a future Labour government should review the prison sentences on miners, reinstate sacked miners, and pay the miners' unions fines. Labour's leader, Mr. Kinnock, said right away that under a Labour government he would decide.
The man who dominated the TUC last year but had been written off by some this year bounced back, successfully pushing through his motion, which the TUC General Council had strongly opposed and which is thought to be a severe embarrassment to the Labour Party.
You should vote for policies that demand justice for jailed miners, demand the reinstatement of those who've been sacked, and demand that a union whose funds have been seized should be reimbursed when our government is in power, like the Tories reimburse their allies when they're in power. I move.
It fell to the hapless Norman Willis to appeal for the motion to be rejected. For his pains, he was heckled.
We cannot and must not put unions in a special situation and claim a special deal from a Labour government in the future. The idea that an election can deal retrospectively with individual fines is just not on.
As the miners watched anxiously, a number of key unions switched sides in the closest of card votes. The miners were delighted. All the indications before had been they'd lose. Many observers were saying tonight the clincher had been Mr. Willis's less than convincing performance. The vote is a major headache for Mr. Kinnock in Blackpool tonight for dinner with TUC leaders.
Whilst my friendship with the Trades Union Congress is firm and lasting, that doesn't imply universal and continual agreement on every issue.
Could you give me a sort of one-word answer? You are not prepared to accept what they've suggested today?
The form of the resolution and the way in which practicalities are taken account of, and the fact that we hope that there will be successes in certain areas even before we get a Labour government in 2 or 3 years' time, mean that it would be difficult to put it on a slice of bread and swallow it.
So the miners had come up with the unexpected once again. Their next target to make the Labour Party adopt the policy at their conference in a month's time. Giles Smith, News at 10, Blackpool.
Mr. Geoffrey Archer, the former Conservative MP who escaped financial ruin by becoming a multimillionaire author of bestsellers, has joined the new Tory team for the next election. He's the Deputy Party Chairman. His new boss, Mr. Norman Tebbit, said Mr. Archer's job would be to cover the country with style and dash.
It had long been predicted Mr. Tebbit would take over as party chairman to gear up for the next election. He said he was in good physical shape now after the Brighton bomb, but he would have to go into hospital again for stitching up some tatty corners. But is his tough and sometimes abrasive image the right one for the party?
I think so, because after all, this country lives in a tough world, and we've got to be tough ourselves. We've got to be realistic. I'm not a man to go around wearing my heart on my sleeve, but it doesn't mean I haven't got a heart.
Mr. Tebbit posed with his new deputy chairman, novelist Geoffrey Archer, who he suggested would help give the party more dash and style. The rise and fall and rise again of Geoffrey Archer has all happened at breathtaking speed. At the age of 29, he was elected MP for Louth and became the youngest member of the Commons at the time. But 5 years later, his political career was in ruins. After losing more than £400,000 in an investment collapse, he had to resign his seat. The ex-MP took up writing to clear his debts. He's been so successful, he's now turned himself into a multimillionaire. He's thought to be worth £5 million. He's produced 5 blockbusters in 10 years. The publication last year of First Among Equals, a story about 4 MPs trying to become Prime Minister, was accompanied by unprecedented promotion and publicity.
But starting this Sunday, the Mail on Sunday will make newspaper history.
Geoffrey Archer lives in a luxury flat overlooking Westminster. He's only just finished writing his latest novel.
I've handed in the new book, so for the next 2 years now I shall not write at all. My main job and main task will be backing up the new chairman and doing everything I can to see that the Conservative Party wins the next election.
What particular qualities do you believe that you're bringing to the job?
That was the Prime Minister's decision, not mine, but I would like to believe energy and a desire to go around the country and support those working in the constituencies and back them up in their work.
Not the ability to write fiction?
No, certainly not.
The new Northern Ireland Secretary, Mr. Tom King, is in Belfast tonight. He says he wants to meet the Foreign Minister of the Irish Republic very soon. Politicians north and south of the Irish border have criticised Mr. Douglas Hurd's unexpected move from Northern Ireland to the Home Office at what Dublin calls a crucial stage in the current Anglo-Irish talks. Before he left, Mr. Hurd welcomed his successor to the province.
After lunch with Mr. Hurd, Tom King emerged to Stormont Castle steps, anxious to dispel any reports that his hour-long meeting on Sunday with Mrs. Thatcher indicated a reluctance for the job. With the current Anglo-Irish initiative now one of his headaches, cooperation with Dublin, he explained, was a priority.
Try and get some better understanding and better relationship with the Republic is important. To get a greater sense of confidence between the majority and the minority community is important. But also very much, and I'm very conscious of this, the economic, the employment situation of Northern Ireland is a very difficult one. I think this is one of the most challenging jobs that exists in the whole government.
Mr. Hurd made few political friends here, the local parties remembering newspaper quotations that he thought little of their leaders' quality or calibre. But his success may be measured in the London-Dublin initiative, still not agreed, but in which he played a key role. Tom King takes over at this crucial time in cross-border relations. Mr. King must now convince Catholic politicians here that he can quickly come to grips with the detail of the Anglo-Irish initiative. But at the same time, he faces the most fiery Protestant tempers since the failed Sunningdale executive of 1974. In all, perhaps a bad time for a change in this most unpopular cabinet post. Michael Macmillan, News at 10 at Stormont.
Mr. Leon Britton said today he was surprised to be moved from the Home Office in Mrs. Thatcher's reshuffle, but he said it was an insult to people needing jobs to imply that he'd been demoted to trade and industry, where he said there was a tremendous task to be done.
Together with the Employment Secretary, I think we have a tremendous job to play. And if one's looking at it purely in the prestige terms, which I think many people find a little distasteful, if not old-fashioned, the fact that my position in the cabinet ranking table, for what it's worth, remains exactly the same, shows that the Prime Minister's expressed concern about the economy and the importance of the need to give first priority to that is reflected in what she's done.
Mr. Cecil Parkinson said today he now accepted he would not be in the government team for the next general election. John Underwood asked him if it was difficult for him to appreciate Mrs. Thatcher's dilemma in deciding whether to take him back.
No, I think the Prime Minister has advisers, and she listens, and she weighs up their advice, and she measures them against her own instincts, and she comes to a decision. That's what she did on this occasion.
That implies then that you would not expect, at this point, to be included in the Cabinet before the next election?
Yes, of course.
18 British tourists were injured when 2 hand grenades exploded beside an hotel swimming pool at Glyfada near Athens. 12 were in a party of deaf and dumb holidaymakers from Birmingham. Tonight, 6 of the injured were still in hospital. 1 is seriously hurt. The Palestinian Black September organization said it did it. The grenades were thrown into the grounds of the Hotel Glyfada from the street. The Glyfada is next door to the Hotel London, where earlier this month a bomb injured 13 tourists, 6 of them British.
The West German Chancellor, Dr. Helmut Kohl, has rejected demands by opposition leaders for the resignation of the Interior Minister, Herr Zimmermann, for his handling of the country's worst spy scandal for 30 years. Dr. Kohl said he wouldn't be dictated to by foreign intelligence services. In a stormy parliamentary debate, Herr Vogel, leader of the Social Democrats, said the defections to the east had reduced the country to a banana state. ITN has spoken to one of the country's top spy catchers, who says he's still up against 3,000 East German agents, despite the defectors.
Today's Bundestag debate turned into a party political battle. Herr Vogel, the opposition leader, serious in his demand that the minister responsible should resign. And by way of reply, Chancellor Kohl laughing off the political attack, which he can do more easily in a country where the border with East Germany means spying is always an acute problem. Yet officially, West Germany does not recognize this border. There is no such thing as a divided Germany, officially. And therefore, anybody who comes across into West Germany from the east is automatically granted political asylum. That policy means that despite the wire and the watchtowers, East Germany has an easy job sending agents, either directly or through third countries, into the West, where other agents can be recruited, perhaps in all 3,000 spies for East Germany, the DDR. Everyone knows it goes on, and to reassure people it's not out of control, West German spy catchers sometimes go public. So in Hamburg we met Christian Lochter, head of the state equivalent of MI5. He thinks and reads a good deal too about what turns people into spies. So, is there one simple answer?
No. We have round about 3,000 spies in West Germany. And therefore, we have 3,000 different reasons. For example, money, sex, or political. All could be a reason. Wir ohne pflegen ihre Tätigkeit.
More at ease in his native German, Lochter says that most spies are very busy people, good at their jobs too, because that helps to prevent suspicion. He thinks that the East Germans' biggest mistake is to approach far too many people. Quite a few tell his office and can be used and are used in counterintelligence operations. Like all professionals, Christian Lochter and his staff like talking about their spoils of war, and they have their own collection of the tools of the spying trade. The dressing case, which if you can locate the pinhole lock, reveals a secret compartment in the lid. The screwdriver, with a complicated spring mechanism in the handle. A handle which turns out to be hollow. And the best engineered of them all, a fruit juice can, apparently full of liquid and weighing the right amount, which also turns out to be a useful and at first sight completely undetectable container. And the Hamburg spy catchers say, even in the age of electronic espionage, they're still finding that this sort of equipment is being used. Michael Brunson, News at 10, Hamburg.
73 years on, it seems they've really found the Titanic. There's no wreck they can't reach now. But what will they do with the old girl? A report next. Plus, the Isles, where every call's long distance. And calling on Charlie, who else could it be? That's in a couple of minutes.
Hey man, where does a guy have to go to get a little peace?
Trio, I want a trio and I want one now.
Ouch!
Not one, not two, but three things in it. A chocolatey biscuit and a toffee flavor too.
Like a man's gotta do, a man's gotta do, man.
No three things are quite as good together as a...
Hey, next time it's the Amazon.
There's just one company today that designs and builds more types of aircraft, defense weapons, and space systems than any other single company in the world. That is one of the world leaders in international collaboration in aerospace. That is one of Britain's leading exporters at the heart of an industry which directly employs over 200,000 people. We're British Aerospace, up where we belong.
What is it that makes a cat want to get his teeth into new Catkins Premium? You've got it. It's the chunks. The wonderfully tasty chunks, packed with all the meaty goodness he needs in a way he'll love. New Catkins Premium Meaty Chunks for a cat to get his teeth into.
With Abbey National's new 5-star account, you don't have to be a star. You can start off with as little as £500. Get instant access to your money with no penalties, so you won't get your fingers burnt. And the more you invest, the higher the interest rate goes. You don't have to be a star to get Abbey National's new 5-star account.
When you've got a bit of a problem with a gas appliance, call the gas people.
I wonder if you could possibly help.
It's this Kenway, is it? Is your central heating not working? We'll have to see what we can do about that.
We understand. We care. and we can help.
Mrs. Kenway, I've come to fix your central heating.
Our service engineers are experienced, fully trained, care about their work and how it's done.
It won't give you any more trouble.
Service from the gas people
Cheerio.
isn't just service. It's service with care.
Mr. Wallace,
That's gas service care.
A Texan oil millionaire said tonight he intends to dive for the treasure on the Titanic. Mr. Jack Grimm made his announcement only hours after a French-American expedition confirmed that they'd pinpointed the sunken liner upright on the ocean bed. The leaders of the expedition say any attempt to raise the ship or salvage its cargo would be ridiculous. And a British woman who survived the disaster but lost her father said raising the Titanic would be like digging up a grave.
She was the pride of the empire, a floating Ritz, and they said absolutely unsinkable. More than 2,000 souls set sail on the maiden voyage of the RMS Titanic. They included some of the wealthiest men of the day. But within a week, the crowds that cheered her off were back outside shipping offices, waiting for news of missing friends and relatives. The impossible had happened. The Titanic had sunk. The liner had struck an Atlantic iceberg. Hollywood would later recreate the fateful moment the Titanic went down, taking 1,500 people with her. Now, 73 years on, the wreck has finally been located, more than 500 miles south of Newfoundland, on the Titanic's route to New York. A team of French and American scientists say they found wreckage from the Titanic and have identified it using these submersible cameras 13,000 foot down on the seabed.
We came on it early this morning. It just bang, there it was, right on top of it.
They've seen one of the boilers and in the background some very large objects which may be sections of the hull.
As expedition members celebrated their success, thoughts were already turning to a possible salvage operation. The Commercial Union Insurance Company officially owns the wreck. The Lloyd's Loss Book shows she was carrying millions of pounds in gold, diamonds and jewellery. The British company that recently raised the Rainbow Warrior in Auckland Harbour using inflatable canvas bags hopes to use the same system to raise the Titanic. But salvage plans have been attacked by Eva Hart, who was 7 when she escaped from the sinking Titanic.
As far as I'm concerned, it's my father's grave. And for that reason, I'd rather it was left. The whole thing I've lived with it all my life, and it's so horrific, the sight of it going down and the sound of all those people drowning. I don't want to see it again.
If salvage crews can raise the Titanic, this is how the filmmakers believe she could look. Although scientists say they're waiting for more information before they can be sure the real wreck is as well preserved as the film version.
British Telecoms boasts that it doesn't cost much to stay in touch. It doesn't impress the Shetland Islanders. A short local call can cost them £1 or more. The islands are 100 miles from the mainland, and the locals say the phone is a vital lifeline for them. Telecom says the islanders are highly subsidised already.
The islanders live in some of the loneliest places in Britain. Cut off from the mainland, their only communication is by air, sea or telephone. The island of Fula, population just 47, has 18 families and one very old telephone box. Their whole economy and way of life relies on the telephone. It's not a luxury, they say, but a necessity. A call from this box to Lerwick, 35 miles away, costs almost £1.
90p. Right.
A quarter of some people's income goes on their phone bills. The average quarterly charges are more than £150 per line, more than the power bills in the case of many islanders. Most families have private lines, but they feel they're hard done by because their calls within the Shetland archipelago are charged at trunk rates. It's unfair, they say, because the phone's not for gossiping, but for surviving.
1 bag of hen food, 2 loaves.
We're not asking for special treatment in talking to the rest of the UK. What we're looking for is that people in different communities within Shetland can speak to each other on the phone and in fact can have a reasonable existence without it costing them the earth.
British Telecom, who are also unpopular for wanting to close the exchange, say special Shetland rates could be negotiated, but they're mindful that small concessions here could become a blank cheque nationally. Not good enough, say island representatives who are heading south hoping they'll find a sympathetic ear. Brent Sadler, News at 10 in the Shetland Islands.
The World Health Organization said today there was little hope of finding a cure for AIDS in the near future. It said 14,000 people were reported to be suffering from AIDS, but several million more were silent carriers. Some of the most hopeful research is being done in Paris.
Bob White is one of 20 Americans in Paris who've come here desperately hoping to find a cure for AIDS. In February, he was told he had the disease. Soon after, he read that France had developed the drug HPA-23, which has given new hope to victims. Since then, he's been living with his male lover in the Latin Quarter of Paris, close to the hospital where he receives daily injections of the drug.
And in my case, we're pretty sure that it's working because I've been here now 5 months and I've had no infections, either minor or major. And that I was speaking with my physician this morning, and it's a good sign.
HPA-23 was discovered at the world-famous Pasteur Institute in Paris, but researchers stress this is not a magical cure and years more work lies ahead.
For instance, if you have someone with cancer, you wouldn't dream of doing a short-term treatment and then saying, oh, he or she is cured. Maybe with this virus, it may take a long time before we're sure of its success. There are promising results, but I think one shouldn't go further than this.
The drug, which can have painful side effects, is manufactured in a small laboratory outside the French capital. Since it was revealed that film star Rock Hudson came to Paris for treatment, the drug's been in demand for research work in America. That will take some of the pressure off the hospitals here, which have been inundated by Americans. They've all volunteered to act as medical guinea pigs in the hope of receiving the experimental treatment. This week, for instance, Bob White will return home to California, where he'll continue to receive HPA-23, which he believes is keeping him alive.
It'd be nice to be able to go out dancing late at night and so on, like some of the things I used to do. But I think that for the time being, I'm looking at this as a real lease on life. I don't think in any way that we feel like we're dying. The people that are dying are the people that are not getting treated.
But even with treatment, many more will die. That's why the Pasteur Institute continues its search for the real answer to AIDS. Terry Lloyd, News at 10, Paris.
Here, Princess Anne talked about her childhood today and admitted that the one game she never played was at being a princess. That came later, she said. She was taking part in BBC Radio's Tuesday Call and was answering a question from the youngest caller, an 8-year-old girl from Enfield in Middlesex.
All little girls play at princesses. When you were a little girl, did you know you were a princess, and did you play at princesses?
I don't know when, you know, as a child you appreciate that what you are, or if you have a title, what that means. But I'm afraid, no, I don't think a princess is anything I ever played at being, really. I've probably been playing at it ever since.
Later, Princess Anne went on to join a group of celebrities helping to launch a new children's book, a collection of poems and illustrations, the proceeds of which will go to help ease the famine in Africa. All the contributors have donated their work. Ken Livingstone, Paul Eddington, Kenny Everett amongst them. There's even a dutiful ditty from the Prime Minister. It's easy to be a starter, but are you a sticker too? It's easy enough to begin a job, it's harder to see it through. Billy Connolly gave a twinkling recital of his contribution.
There was a young Scotsman in Rotherham who had piles, which he said didn't bother him. When asked to cast light on his terrible plight, he said, it's nae bother at Rotherham.
There was a young bat in a cave who was clever and cheerful and brave. He hung by his toes and said, nobody knows the amount of shoe leather I save.
How long did it take you to write?
15 seconds.
That must be a world record.
For me, yes. Yes. Yes, these silly things come to me very easily.
I once knew a creature called Nellie who started to gobble the telly. I begged her to cease, but she'd eaten each piece. Now there's play school each day in her belly.
The original illustrations, including work by Ralph Steadman, Gerald Scarfe and Quinton Blake, will be auctioned in November, as will all the contributing artists' giant doodle board. Joan Thurkettle, News at 10 at the Guildhall.
Tonight, soccer, Saltingham out in Division 1, Birmingham 1, Man City 0, Coventry 5, Oxford 2, Liverpool 2, Whelan got 'em both, Forest 0, QPR 0, Arsenal 1. Wednesday 1, Everton 5, they go second, Lineker got 2, Southampton 1, West Ham 1. Division 2, Huddersfield 0, Blackburn 0, Shrewsbury 1, Portsmouth 1, Wimbledon 1, Barnsley 0. In the Milk Cup first round second leg, underlined teams go through. Bournemouth 2, Reading 0, Blackpool 1, Preston 3, Brentford 2, Cambridge 0, Bristol City 2, Hereford 0, Bury 5, Burnley 3, Carlisle 3, Crewe 4, Chesterfield 3, Bradford 4, Palace 1, Charlton 1, Doncaster 2, Notts County 1, Gillingham 2, Southend 0, Hull 3, Halifax 0, Middlesbrough 4, Mansfield 4, Millwall 4, Colchester 1, Newport 1, Bristol Rovers 0, Northampton 2, Peterborough 0, Orient 2, Aldershot 2, Rochdale 2, Wrexham 1, Scunthorpe Darlington postponed because of illness. Sheffield United 5, Rotherham 1, Stockport 1, Bolton 1, Swansea 3, Cardiff 1, Swindon 2, Torquay 2, Wolves 0, Walsall 1. Cricket, Gloucestershire stayed just 1 point behind Hampshire at the top. The rain meant that all the county games were drawn.
In the main news again, leaders of the engineering union announced tonight that they'd continue to accept government money for union ballots in defiance of TUC policy. It means the country's second biggest union could be suspended or even expelled. We're going back now to our industrial correspondent, Michael Green, who's in Blackpool.
It would now appear that the General Council, which meets tomorrow morning, will have to bite the bullet to recommend Congress to expel the engineers, knowing that the electricians will walk out too, or to back down. A partial climb down, effectively giving the engineers a suspended sentence, is being canvassed, but this would mean another humiliation for Mr. Willis and even greater disarray for TUC policy. Michael Green, News at 10, Blackpool.
Finally, Princess Diana went out into the North Sea today to the rig Charlie's Darling. Her outfit, a bright red survival kit. That had definitely not been seen by the fashion writers before. It was felt that she gave it something extra. Then into pink training shoes, green slacks and regulation helmet for a 3-hour tour. The welcoming party included an impromptu water display by the emergency support vessel Iolair, which duly got closer examination. The princess is said to have charmed the men who are called the bears of the North Sea. One engineer said there was quite a hint of aftershave in the air. And then back into the flying suit. Well, what could she be voted but Charlie's Darling? They say it was unanimous. That's it tonight. Good night.
After the Thames News headlines, First Tuesday looks at the Abbeystead disaster and meets 2 survivors of the Battle of Arnhem.
If NEC's new thinking facsimile can phone documents in a matter of seconds, round the world or round the corner, at any time of night or day, to up to 100 different addresses, and redial if engaged, automatically adjust its own image quality for halftone or typescript, with foolproof simplicity, what could one do for your business? Dial 01200 0200 now for details of the NEFAX thinking facsimile range from NEC.
This Weimaraner, show champion Handsome Misty Blue, has been a best-of-breed winner no fewer than 5 times in less than 3 years. Right from the start, the name that stands for nourishment was there. Nourishment you can see. Firm, solid, good and meaty through and through. Pedigree Chum Nourishment.
Pedigree Chum has a very special place in my kennels. I've got a reputation to keep.
No wonder top breeders recommend it.
Pizza Land. We've got a passion for pizza. In 1983, Legal & General were investors in an oil company drilling in Muckluck, Alaska. Months later, they struck. Water. Not much luck in Muckluck. In 1977, Legal & General had shares in a company selling sprays to deal with Australia's perennial fly problem. But the drought killed off all the flies anyway. However, you have to speculate to accumulate. And despite the odd hiccup, Legal & General have doubled the value of their investments in the last 5 years, which is very good news for anyone who's got their money with us. Legal & General, only 99% certain of getting it right.
Good evening. Figures out today show a big increase in the number of drug addicts in London, and Scotland Yard are hitting back with a new campaign warning youngsters about the dangers of drug abuse. The number of registered addicts in London rose by 682 between 1983 and 1984, and now stands at nearly half the total for the whole country. Police say the real figure is probably 5 times higher, and have been armed with a catalogue of what drug taking involves. The pictures have been collected in the hope that the grim effects of drug taking they show will persuade more youngsters not to take up the habit. Police are tonight hunting 2 men who held up a bank in central London and got away with an estimated £27,000. The 2, both armed, threatened staff at the Allied Irish Bank in Bruton Street and escaped on a motorbike. There's a warning today that thousands of elderly people could face eviction from private rest or nursing homes in London because of a cash squeeze by the government. The health department usually pay all the costs of looking after old people in homes. An upper limit was introduced when some homeowners charged above the odds. But one charity is warning the limit is not enough to run homes in London, and they say unless old people themselves can make up the difference, they could be thrown out. 2 men have been arrested and are being questioned about the attack on a British Rail messenger at Caversham in Reading at the weekend. Alexander Bowhill is still seriously ill in hospital. Tower Hamlets Housing Committee tonight agreed to install an entry phone system costing £15,000 in Electric House at Bow, the target of an alleged racist attack last month. But the committee isn't installing other security measures demanded by the tenants, at least for the time being. The new Environment Secretary, Kenneth Baker, says he'll be sensitive to trying to protect Greenbelt land around London. He said on Thames News tonight that instead he'll try to allocate more derelict land inside the capital for building. The strike by social security staff in Essex is to continue. Staff at Ilford voted today to stay out at least until Friday. They're complaining about the workload caused by alleged staff shortages. Finally, one of the world's largest sailing ships arrived at Greenwich today for a week's stay in the capital. The Amerigo Vespucci is a sail training ship from the Italian Navy. She's in London as part of an annual instruction course. She'll be open to the public on Friday and at the weekend. And Thames weather. Tonight, dry and mostly clear. Tomorrow, dry with some sunshine, becoming cloudy with rain later. The high 18 degrees Celsius at 64 Fahrenheit. And that's it. It's more Thames News tomorrow. Now it's time for First Tuesday.
Tonight on First Tuesday, 15 months after the Abbeystead explosion and still no compensation paid.
Anger is beginning to show itself more and more as time goes by.
And a remarkable story of survival from the Battle of Arnhem.
There was I with a bad stomach wound, and the German said, well, we won't bother with that one.
Good evening. As you know, we've had a spate of sudden and awful disasters in the last few months. The plane crashes, the Bradford fire, Bhopal, and so on. In each case, there's the horror, then the investigations, and then maybe an appeal for the victims. After that, generally, the disaster fades from our minds. Abbeystead is probably a case in point. For a few days last year, Abbeystead in Lancashire was headline news after an explosion at the waterworks there killed 16 people who were visiting the plant from the nearby village of St. Michael's-on-Wyre. 15 months later, the families who suffered are not only forgotten, they've not received a single penny in compensation. Invitation to Disaster investigates the explosion and its aftermath.
Our claim into the Abbeystead disaster. Mr. Wheel, there's a few words you would like to say to us.
Thank you, Mr. Tyson. And thank you, everyone, for coming along at what would appear to be rather short notice. Now,
on May the 23rd last year, these people went on an outing organised by the local water authority. It was to end in disaster, leaving 16 dead and 28 injured.
I believe, and I'm sure you do, that we've suffered a grave injustice, and up to this moment there has been a far from sympathetic attitude being adopted by those whom we believe to be at fault. I go back to my original point that
Today, more than a year since the disaster, they're caught up in a legal wrangle over who was responsible. Innocent victims who expected compensation and have received none.
I've had 3 operations on my kidneys. I've just had another operation on my hand, and it's in a terrible state under the bandage line, and I'm just absolutely jiggered. And I was fit before.
Upstream from St Michael's at Abbeystead, water pours into the River Wyre from a tunnel 8 feet wide, deep underground. As a public relations exercise last year, the North West Water Authority invited the villagers to this valve house, an underground chamber at the end of the tunnel. They were waiting inside when there was a huge methane explosion.
Firemen, police and water service staff worked for more than 8 hours, digging amongst the wreckage to rescue survivors and bring out the dead.
There was handbags, there was bits of clothing. The people were scorched, the hair was scorched, their eyebrows were scorched. Some of them I actually knew them, or they knew me. I couldn't recognise them.
In the daylight, the full extent of the damage was devastating. The roof of the chamber had been completely blown off. It used to be supported by huge 2.5-ton girders. They collapsed on the people inside. Firemen found some bodies drowned in water tanks under the chamber. The force of the blast blew the bonnet of a car clean off 100 yards away.
I've been in the fire service 26 years, and I've never seen a situation as bad as this. And my heart bleeds for the people of St Michael's who attended this function last night on a social basis, and many of them are with us today.
This woman was thrown clear. She has 50% flash burns to her body. Like many, her face is the most badly affected of all.
There were people lying about, or there was one half under a car. I couldn't recognise many people because they were burnt, like I am. The hair was fused together. That's why my hair's cut off. It was all fused. And people just sitting there, dazed and not knowing quite what to do. We could hear them calling and groaning from inside the building.
Farmer Tim Eckersley lost his wife and 12-year-old son, Mark.
I'd been chatting with my son, who was wanted to ask the waterboard men if there were any fish in the tanks underneath. And I'd just moved away from him, and I was just happened to be looking through the grids, and all at once it lit up brilliant blue, and I just froze, and I don't know, I can't remember anything else until I came round. And when I came round, I was, my trousers were burnt off, and my jacket was all singed, my face was badly burnt, you know, and my shoes, they were still lit. So I just kicked those out, and there was a big hole in the roof, and the roof beams had fallen in. There were bodies all over the floor, you know, and there was somebody who had gone through the grid into the water below.
Head teacher Ron Weald lost his wife and was badly injured himself.
Suddenly, I was aware of a fairly bright light within the inner room, and it seemed to change and became orange and yellow. It's like a swirling cloud of flame, and I was suddenly conscious of a hot blast, you know, heat. And I was swept off my feet along with several other people who were standing with me. And we were literally blown into the doorway. It's an experience that I shall never forget. And suddenly realizing that we were on the floor, I managed to pick myself up to my feet. I realized my clothes were on fire, along with several other people around me. And I realized, of course, that one of them was my wife. So we were hastily trying to beat out the flames on our own clothes, you know, clothes of other people. You know, if your back was on fire, someone else would put it out for you.
And I thought, well, I wonder where Mark is, my son. And I could see what I thought was his body, actually, lying under a pile of soil and stone. He'd been decapitated with one of the grids had flown up and taken what I thought it had taken his head off anyway, because I could see his small neck and it was like all blood. Well, it was blood burnt, you know, how it dries on. And, well, you know what, you know, you've got to survive, and so I went out then.
There were bodies lying about, and there was a gentleman came staggering out of the building. I didn't recognize him. I couldn't. In fact, I don't think his own wife or mother would have recognized him. And we suddenly became aware then that it had been, you know, an appalling accident.
Of the 16 who died, some had been killed instantly. Others, with severe burns, would suffer in hospital for days.
What I didn't realize then, that was to be our last outing together. It was obvious that things were not going well about the Wednesday of the following week. She'd been taken down to the special theatre they have in the burns unit for skin grafts. We went down to see her a couple of times on the Sunday, and we were called down on Monday afternoon. This was the 4th of June, about just after 4:30, and she died at 5 o'clock.
Tim Eckersley last saw his wife, Pauline, a week after the explosion.
Well, she wakened up, actually, when I went in, and that she said that she'd seen Mark, actually, and she wanted to get out of bed. She said, I've seen him, he's down at the bottom of the woods, and I want to go to him. This was the day of Mark's funeral, you see, and within about 2.5 hours, she died that day. And I think, you know, when she said she'd seen Mark, she just wanted to go to him, you know. So, you know, it's quite, I don't know, she must have known she was going to die, I think.
The people of St. Michael's can never be compensated for their loss. But 15 months on, there's a growing sense of injustice over the persistent denials of responsibility.
Anger is beginning to show itself more and more as time goes by. Those of us who were injured weren't in much of a condition in the early stages to feel this. We were too busy trying to recover. We were too busy trying to put the pieces of our lives back together, to try and make some life again. But now, as you begin to piece things together again and realize the manner in which we're being treated, then anger is coming to the forefront more and more. I think there are a great many questions still to be answered regarding what went wrong.
The cause of the explosion, methane, is not disputed. Water from the River Lune is transferred to the River Wyre through a tunnel which ends at the Abbeystead valve house. On the day of the explosion, the tunnel had been out of use for 17 days. It had partly emptied, and, unknown to anyone, the space had filled with explosive methane. When the villagers were shown into the valve house, pumps were turned on to get the water flowing. As the tunnel filled with water, methane was forced into the valve house and exploded. The tragedy was followed by an 8-month inquiry by the government's Health and Safety Executive. They said that design shortcomings led to the accident. This referred to the designer's decision not to ventilate the tunnel to the open air. A pipe leading to the open air would have ensured that any methane in the tunnel would be dispersed safely. Instead, the pipe was kept below ground, venting directly into the enclosed underground valve house where people would be present. After pressure from the landowner at that time, Lady Sefton of Liverpool, it had been felt that installations above ground might spoil the scenery. That view is shared by the operators, the North West Water Authority, whose chairman is George Mann.
Well, by the very nature of where water authorities get their water from, it's usually in areas of natural beauty. And the Trough of Bowland is such an area. And wherever we operate in that kind, the local planning will demand that we make them as unobtrusive as possible. And this is it. And in fact, this one was an award-winning scheme.
Was the Water Authority consulted on the question of design?
Well, of course, but we employ, as we do on many schemes, consultants who design schemes for us. A large proportion of our work, our capital programme, goes out to private consultants.
But the decision to keep the vent pipe underground, would that have been taken specifically by the designers, or would they have done that in consultation with the Water Authority?
No, they would design that. They would design, it was their design, and they would design what they thought was the best scheme.
The designers are Binney & Partners of London, who declined to be interviewed. They decided to ventilate the tunnel into the valve house, apparently unaware that methane could enter the system. A tunnel cross-section shows how it happened. Groundwater containing methane pours in through cracks, releasing the gas inside the tunnel. Binney's knew groundwater would leak in, but according to the HSE, could not have foreseen it would contain methane. However, at a conference of the Institution of Civil Engineers in 1967, there was a warning of the danger of methane dissolved in water. They discussed a series of explosions in Britain and around the world caused by methane in water. The conference was attended by a man from Binney & Partners, Ronald Gerard, not himself responsible for Abisted, but a director until 1983. Today, the wrecked valve house is fenced off. The no smoking signs are new. Each day, a Water Authority worker tests for methane, still present in large quantities. Although the report said methane could not have been foreseen, it failed to mention one factor which could have provided a warning: the presence of coal. In coal mining, methane has always been the miner's worst enemy. It's claimed hundreds of lives in Britain, and in Japan only this year, 62 miners died in a methane explosion. The miner's rule is, where there's coal, there may also be methane. Although not mentioned in the report, the Abisted tunnel is surrounded by coal deposits, on record since 1952. Shortly after the explosion, the proof was shown to the Water Authority by local geologist John Clare. He was surprised when there was no mention in the report.
We had assurances that it would be passed on to the Health and Safety Executive people, and we expected to see at least a mention of it in the report, even to deny that the coal had any effect on the presence of methane. But one would expect that with coal in the area, and much of the rock strata around about to contain methane, and this I feel should have been foreseen. There's a major colliery within just over a mile of the tunnel entrance here, and within a mile and a quarter of the tunnel entrance is an underground mine. These are possible coal workings on the banking immediately adjacent to the Roughton portal. The tunnel goes in beneath the banking. As we come to this remains of this large pit here, we can in actual fact see that they've taken a section out through it recently, and coal becomes exposed on the surface. Obviously this is very poor quality coal. They'll have taken the better stuff and moved it elsewhere, as we can see. Very poor quality coal.
Presenting the Abisted report, the HSE's Director General, John Rimington, said the facts are now fully on the table. Although the report ignored the question of coal near the tunnel, it did mention another possible sign of danger: evidence of gas in the tunnel during construction. Of the few tests carried out inside the tunnel, some did indicate traces of flammable natural gas. Further evidence came from one of the tunnellers, Eddie Kluczwinski, who's trained in the detection of gas in coal mines. During tunnelling, he reported unusual headaches, which, from experience, he associated with gas.
Yes, I did report once or twice and talking about it, and everybody say, well, that's it, every tunnel got a gas, more or less. Then I agree with it, because it's every tunnel got a gas, sometimes more, sometimes less. But this one, when I reported last time, because I get such a bad headaches, and I couldn't stand no more, and I went out.
The HSE report discounted Mr. Kluczwinski's evidence, but his team leader in the tunnel, who was overseas during the inquiry, says he too reported gas on several occasions.
It has carried on for several days, but on one occasion it was quite extreme. One of the men actually has passed out and always had to be taken out outside. The reports obviously prompted investigations and all this, and say that tests have been carried out, but I'm not aware of what sort of a gas was discovered.
You say there was a system for reporting suspected gas. Do you have any idea how many times, roughly, such reports were made?
Yes, perhaps on 3 or 4 occasions.
And who would the reports be made to?
The reports would have been made to General Foreman and the inspectors.
Those further accounts of gas appear not to have reached the HSE. More surprising still, the report ignored the question of how often the tunnel was inspected after completion. This would have revealed any methane, because safety guidelines say tunnels must be checked for gas before and during entry. The Water Authority's operating manual stresses that inspections of the tunnel should be carried out at least once in every 3 years. In fact, in more than 4 years up to the explosion, the tunnel was never inspected at all. We asked Water Authority Chairman George Mann why not.
Here again, the 3 years was part of, but it was due to be done the year after. For some reason, we didn't get around to doing it. But it's not an important part in that it wasn't an inspection with regard to finding methane or anything like this. It was an inspection to see that the tunnel was all right.
But surely, since the methane was entering the tunnel through cracks in the lining...
Well, that was natural.
Surely an inspection of the lining of the tunnel is absolutely crucial to the safety.
No, but the tunnel was designed that it would allow this. This cracks in the tunnel doesn't suggest that there was any default. That was part of the design. It wasn't a watertight tunnel, so that they knew that you would get an ingress of water. So to inspect the tunnel and find that there were cracks there wouldn't have given any concern, because it was part of the design. It wasn't a watertight tunnel.
But if the operating manual says that the tunnel must be inspected at least every 3 years, and you didn't, surely that's a question of safety.
Well, possibly we should have, but certainly as far as we were concerned, it wasn't that important, because there was no real danger from what has come as danger, methane. The inspection wouldn't have been for methane. It would have just been a general inspection of the tunnel.
But nonetheless, on a matter which was specified in the operating manual, the authority failed to comply with it.
Yes, we did in that respect, yes.
This new admission from the Water Authority that they broke the rules on inspection may yet count against them. They now face negligence charges for breaking operating instructions, as do Binion partners for failing to take precautions against methane. For their part, the Health and Safety Executive declined to be interviewed. They say any comment now might prejudice the proceedings, although no date has been set.
Which exam are we having today?
The victims, meanwhile, must piece their lives back together without the help of compensation.
I've got to try and go on as best we can. I've got 2 girls now, and they're 16 and 14, and I've got to look after them and carry on and make the best of life as I can, really. I've got probably another 30 or 40 years to go in my life, maybe, anyway. And so I've just got to make the best of it now. I used to forage harvest, and a lot of the smaller things that I can't do now anyway. It's picking small things that bothers me because my hands just don't bend as well, you know. And my legs, they were burnt right to the top, and I have to wear these elastic type stockings on them. See, that's the burning there. They're like that. This has been grafted around here with the big mesh grafting, and they're burnt right up to the top here. I can't really stand for long periods. I'm all right as long as I'm walking about, but if I stand there, my legs start to tingle, and I wear a surgical mask because the wind just catches the burns under my nose there, and it's quite a problem, really. I've got to keep it covered to be really effective. Well, my hands and face and legs were very badly burnt. You tend to get this growing together, which is called webbing of your fingers if you're not careful. So you have to keep your gloves on and keep them very tight. You see the webbing starting to build up there. If your gloves didn't fit you very well, or the slack between the fingers, they start growing together, or you have to pack them with foam or some other material. I can't really keep the gloves off for too long because the scar tissue all swells up with blood, and it starts being, well, very uncomfortable, really. So we have to keep them on all day and all night. My hands have problems with bending them, and I can't really make a good fist.
For the Abbeystead victims, it's little consolation to know that the Water Authority are heavily insured in case of accidents. Under British law, nothing need be paid unless negligence is proved.
Well, people were killed, people were badly injured, and still there appears to be this complete lack of responsibility. I'm sure no one wants to claim responsibility because in some ways that appears to be a stigma.
Well, of course we have a sense of responsibility because we invited the people to be there. But we carry a huge premium on insurance, and that is being dealt with by our insurers. And, we've got to leave it there.
Do you think those people should be compensated?
That's not for me to say.
But you invited them in.
Well, yeah. You might invite people into your house and something goes wrong. But that is why we are insured.
Andrew, could you set the table, please?
The first thought that went through my mind was that I didn't really care much about what happened to me. But then I was brought to my senses by the thought that if anything happened to me, what was going to happen to my younger son, who is not old enough to look after himself. And really all I can say is that it was really the thought of my responsibilities and what I was going to have to do that pulled me through. I felt that at all costs it was necessary for me to survive, if only principally for his sake. And really, since that time, in other words, for the past year, the only forward-looking thing that I can really see is his care. And I know I have to bring him up, and that is going to last for a few years longer. So I have to get on with living and keeping a house and looking after him. He's a rather quiet boy in many ways. He does a lot of thinking and doesn't do a lot of talking. I, on occasions, have found it very difficult to know what to say to him. I'm sure we all feel that certainly compensation would signify that someone has accepted a measure of responsibility. It won't replace a wife and a mother. It won't replace a son. It can never do that. But at least it can go some way towards alleviating the suffering that has taken place and continues to go on. The foundations of my life have been wiped away. 25 years of building a life together, and suddenly it's all gone. It's something you don't anticipate, you don't think about. It hasn't been a very happy 12 months. You have to put on a brave face, and I have to be cheerful, if only because of my son. But I can tell you here and now, and so would anyone else who'd been involved, that you have your private moments frequently.
The victims of St. Michael's-on-Wye still waiting. After the break, we'll be back with a particularly unusual return to Arnhem and that bridge too far. That's in a moment.
You rub the left box out, then the right box out. Rub a bit, scratch a bit, and shake it all about. 3 diagonal crosses weighing 100,000 pounds. That's what it's all about. Oi!
Play SO Noughts and Crosses, and you could win £100,000, or any one of the 30,000 cash prizes to be won every day, where you see this sign.
I'm just starting out in life, but my standards are already pretty high. That's why I'm so excited about Standard Life. But one day I'll need an endowment mortgage for a home of my own, and savings too. How else could I afford my own transport? I might even want to retire to the seaside on a good pension. And it would be nice to know me and my loved ones are covered by Standard Life Assurance. Standard Life, for all of your life.
The new Argos catalogue is out now. It's full of famous names at low prices. Pick up your free Argos catalogue.
It's so easy.
Where shall we go tomorrow? Let's go to the proms. We'll take the tube to South Kensington. Henry would.
For a perfect summer's day, everything's got to be right. The sea, the company, and the view. And what better sight than the clear gold of the Hofmeister lager? Oh, for the sea and the wind in your hair. If you want great lager, follow the bear here.
Anyone who's trying to make the most of their financial muscle may have noticed that savings accounts which gave instant access sometimes offered a rather disappointing rate of interest. Other schemes had a higher interest rate, but your money was stuck there for some time. With the new higher rate deposit account from Barclays, though, not only do you get a high rate of interest, you also get instant access to your money. The higher rate deposit account from Barclays.
Welcome back. Our next film is the story of two men who were thrown together by chance in the middle of war under extraordinary circumstances. As a result, they formed a lasting friendship, despite the fact that their beliefs about war and the world are now as polarized as possible. Today, both men are preeminent in their different fields. One of them needs little introduction. General Sir John Hackett is the author of the bestseller World War III. He's also a familiar scourge of CND.
And to suppose that if we threw away our nuclear capability, there would be a welcome response on the other side and a dismantling of the USSR's nuclear capability, we're barking up the wrong tree. And I find that so many of the warm hearts which embrace the cause of unilateral disarmament are accompanied by heads as woolly as the hats they so often wear.
Well, Professor Lippmann-Kessel does not sport a woolly hat. In his specialist field as orthopedic surgeon, he's world famous. In the war, he was a volunteer paramedic. He's now a leading member of Veterans for CND.
In that the people's minds all over the world, particularly in Europe, are being prepared or can be prepared to accept the possibility of survival after a nuclear war. That, to my mind, represents the greatest threat to world peace.
That's not the only issue which divides the two men. The general is a Christian, implacably hostile to the Soviet Union. The surgeon is a Marxist, ideologically a world apart from Sir John.
I have for a very long time regarded Marxism as I think really most adult balanced minds would, as unscientific, romantic and obsolete.
Hope, future, and that's where Marxism scores over all other philosophies, except perhaps religion, which provides a hope too, doesn't it? But that's for another world, and Marx provided it for this world.
Lenin said, in the long run, world peace can only mean world communist control. And nobody's unsaid that in the Soviet Union since then, and maintained a prominent place in anything but a psychiatric ward.
When he thinks of Russia, he ought to think of 200 million people who have been fed, clothed, educated, and given employment by their government. It can't be altogether a bad government for them.
The division between them runs to the very nature of man and his instinct or otherwise for war.
Man is, he's a very incomplete little product of divine providence, and he has always been marked by a tendency to resort to force in the resolution of his problems with other men.
For man to be unchangeably aggressive strikes me as being a dismal and pessimistic view of the value of the spirit of man.